Welcome back to Only Talk Sports, and today we have the round of 32 live reaction to the Kentucky-Kansas State basketball game, and Kentucky has to tip off first. This should be a fantastic game between these two teams. This is the 6-3 matchup. Overall, Kansas State had a great season with Jerome Tang in his first season as the head coach. And then Kentucky, you've obviously got John Calipari. He's been there for a few seasons, had a lot of success. But both teams scrapping early. Kentucky missed a shot. Antonio Reeves missed the first shot, but he gets another attempt and he misses again. But Oscar Tshiebwe with the offensive rebound. Both teams are hustling early. We got Will ND here. Thanks, Will. He says excited for the game. This should be a fantastic game. I think both teams are going to play really hard, but Kansas State just strips Kentucky. Kansas State going down the floor. Desi Sills, the Arkansas transfer. He's had a really solid season for the Wildcats. He was a really good player for Arkansas. Had a lot of success. But Jacob Toppin, he tries to shoot a three. He misses. And Kansas State with another rebound. The Wildcats run the floor, and it's 2-0 Kansas State. The Wildcats, again, with Jerome Tang, the former Baylor assistant, as their new head coach. He's had a fantastic first season for Kansas State. Keontae Johnson, his success story is fantastic, coming back after he collapsed off the floor for the Wildcats. That was really, tough when he collapsed on the floor for Florida, but now he's at the Wildcats, and he's done a fantastic job coming off of his scary injury or health issue for sure. I was definitely praying hard for Keontae Johnson that he would be okay and be able to play basketball again, but he's back. He takes a three and he misses for Kansas State, but he is a really good player. But it's 2-2 Kansas State, Kentucky. 18 to go in the first. Oscar Tshiebwe kicks to Jacob Toppin. The Wildcats still have a lot of talent. Kentucky does. Both Wildcats do, but I think Kentucky, they probably have more talent than Kansas State. But both Wildcats love to run the floor. Keontae Johnson's driving, and he misses a floater. Naquan Tomlin tried to get the rebound, but Oscar Tshiebwe, he's bringing the ball down the floor. Oscar Tshiebwe is definitely a talented player for sure. Jeff says, I'm here, go Wildcats. Which one? Which Wildcats? But I think you're going for the blue Wildcats for sure. K-State's running the floor yet again. Desi Sills gets blocked by Kassan Wallace, but I think they call a foul. Still 2-2, Kansas State and Kentucky. But both teams playing really good defense so far. A lot of high-flying action, but I think Kassan Wallace got him with the body. But Kansas State will have 2 free throws. Jeff says Kentucky only one, laughing out loud. Well, both teams are technically the Wildcats, so I just had to make sure. But I already know. Desi Sills at the free throw line. He misses the first. So it's still 2-2, 17-32 to go in the first. You definitely need to make your free throws in tournament games. You got to make your free throws. Can't miss, because sometimes those are the kind of plays that are the reason you lose, missing a lot of free throws. He hits the second. It wasn't pretty. Hit the back iron, but went in for Desi Sills, but it's 3-2. Desi Sills has over 100 wins in his college career with 3 different teams. He's had a lot of college success, but Kentucky down 1 early, 3-2, 17-20 to go in the first. Will says, I know you're rooting for Kansas State and dislike for John Calipari. I'm not a super big fan, but I do respect John Calipari in certain areas. I think he's done a really good job this year with not having as much talent, but especially some of the things he's done in the past at UMass and Memphis were tough. But I do have a family member that loves Kentucky, so I try to be a bit unbiased and definitely root for them a little bit. But I like Kansas State a lot as well. I think Kansas State's had a great season. They've been a great success story with Jerome Tang, so it should be a high-level game. Be happy for whoever wins, especially if it's a clean game. And it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun so far. 6-3 Kentucky. Kansas State's missing a lot of layups. Kassan Wallace, he misses a 2. Tshiebwe with the rebound, but Kansas State gets the basketball, and they call a foul on Tshiebwe. Justice Toppin, what a slam. For sure. John Calipari does not like the call, but Tshiebwe, he technically went over and back, but then he loses the basketball. And they call a foul on him. He had a lot of ball, but it was probably the physicality and the contact. But it's 6-3, Kentucky. Will Ndisa Shibwe has to stay out of foul trouble 100% if Kentucky's going to have a chance to win, for sure. Marquise Noel, he misses a three. Antonio Reeves, the Illinois State transfer, with the rebound. He's had a good season. He's been playing better down the stretch of the season. Kassan Wallace kicks out to Antonio Reeves. Reeves is driving in. He misses. Shibwe trying to get the rebound. And there's a tie, and Kansas State has the possession arrow. Both teams are playing very physical basketball right now. Calipari calling for a foul. John Calipari, definitely one of the most animated coaches in college basketball. But it's 6-3 Kentucky, 15:59 to go in the first half, and there has definitely been some high-flying action early in this one. Both teams giving it everything they've got, and I think that that's definitely a good sign for both teams. I think for Kansas State, you got to make the layups. You got to make the easy shots. And Kansas State's missed a lot of easy layups. You got to hit those. You got to make your free throws. Kentucky, they're definitely hitting more shots early in this one. But Oscar Shibwe already picking up a foul. It's not a good sign, especially if he picks up another one. You don't want him getting in foul trouble. He's such a big key piece to what Kentucky does on offense. But they have been shooting the basketball better as the season's gone along, so maybe if he's on the bench, they can still win without him. But still, Oscar Shibwe, they need him on the floor. Jeff says, I agree. Hey, Will, how goes it? Sure, Will's doing really good. Thanks for being here, Will and Jeff. We got some high-flying action early in this game. But earlier today, we saw Xavier punch their ticket to the Sweet 16. They beat a solid Pittsburgh team. I thought Pittsburgh had a really good season. Jeff Capel did a really good job getting Pittsburgh to the tournament. But overall, you look at Pittsburgh, they did not have a lot of offense. They beat Iowa State only scoring 59 points. They beat Mississippi State only scoring 60 points. And both of the teams they play really struggled on the offensive end. But then you look at Pittsburgh playing against Xavier. Xavier had a lot of offense in that game. And unfortunately, Pittsburgh just could not get the win. But still a really good season for Jeff Capel. Will and D says, I'm doing good, working on a group project for school, enjoying March Madness. That's awesome, Will. Thanks for being here. And March Madness, even when you're busy and you got a lot of work going on, you got to be able to check into some basketball. A lot of people at work trying to watch the games as well. Find a way to sneak in a peek of the games. Only comes once a year, and the games are awesome. Inside the Pylons says, how it goes at Gents. Thanks for being here, Inside the Pylons. This should be a great game between both these teams. I think that overall, looking at both these rosters, Kansas State has more talent on their team than they've had in a long time. Kentucky, they're always talented, usually always there, but they've had a down last couple of years. Kentucky had a pretty good season last year, but losing to St. Peter's. And then the couple of years before that, had some struggles. So a lot of Kentucky fans really wanting the Wildcats to advance far in this tournament, to reestablish themselves as one of the best teams in college basketball year in and year out. But Kansas State, not going to want to let Kentucky get this win. Kansas State's had a great season. Jerome Tang probably has a great case to be coach of the year, what he's done in his first season. Yes, bringing in Keontae Johnson was huge, but what he's done with the rest of the roster as well is just fantastic. They've had a great season. Marquise Noel, only a 5'8", 160-pound guard. And he's had so much success for Kansas State this season. But it's 6-3 Kentucky, 15:50 to go in the first half, and Kansas State has the basketball in Marquise Noel's hands. Oscar Shibwe almost picked up his second foul. They didn't call it. Desi Sills with the basketball. Kicks back to Marquise Noel with Kassan Wallace guarding him, a really good defender. Shibwe still trying to guard at the top of the key. They kick to Naquan Tomlin. He shoots a three for Kansas State, and he misses. Toppin with the rebound. Still 6-3. Kentucky. Kansas State struggling on the offensive end early in this one. But Chris Livingston with the basketball. He's improved for Kentucky as the season's gone along. Really good freshman as well alongside Kassan Wallace, but Wallace has had the better season. Jacob Toppin, he takes a mid-range two, and he misses. Desi Sills with the rebound for Kansas State. Still 6-3. Kentucky, 15 to go in the first. Noel's driving in, kicks to Keontae Johnson. Keontae Johnson's driving in. I think they call a blocking foul on Livingston. Unless they did call an offensive. I'm not 100% sure. That call could have gone either way. But they did call an offensive foul, I think. Or he might have traveled as well. I think they did call a travel because they don't have any fouls on Kansas State yet. He must have shuffled his feet. So Kentucky with the basketball at 6-3. The Kentucky Wildcats looking a little bit better than the Kansas State Wildcats early in this one. Both teams playing hard on the defensive end. But they might have called an offensive foul on Kentucky. Jeff says, cool on both. I'm glad. And great to you on Inside the Pylons. Inside the Pylons, the same. Trying to make time later call Marquette, Michigan State. That should be a good game. Looking forward to that game as well. That should be a really good game. Will and D says K-State's playing nervous on offense. I think they are for sure. They're definitely being riled by the fact they're playing Kentucky. But Desi Sills, he misses another three. They're getting really good looks. These are great looks that Kansas State's missing. They're going to regret missing all these later on in this game, especially if they fall behind against Kentucky. Had some great looks. But Kentucky moving the basketball around pretty well. Both teams are struggling on the offensive end. That's probably just the jitters of the tournament. And they call a travel on Wallace. He shuffled his feet. Jeff says Kentucky ball, yes. But now it's back to Kansas State. Clint Moses said, go Beast. Thanks for being here, Clint. Should be a great game between these two teams. Clint Moses, I've got K-State beating Kentucky in my bracket. I can see Kansas State winning. They have a lot of talent, but they're playing really scared early. To Will and D's point, looking very skittish on the offensive end, trying to get things going, but they had a great season in the Big 12, so I'm sure they'll figure it out. Marquise Noel, he's driving in. Kicks to Desi Sills, and Desi Sills with the reverse layup. It's 6-5. Very nice play for Kansas State. But now we have Buckeye Mike back. He said this is such a low-scoring game right now. Great defensive game going on here early for sure. I think that part of it is great defense. Some of it is just missing some shots. But Chris Livingston, he misses a two. And Naquan Tomlin with the rebound for Kansas State. The Wildcats down one. Kansas State trying to push down the floor. And a turnover. Marquise Noel tried to kick it to Keontae Johnson on the back screen, but he did not get the pass, and it's a turnover. It was a really good look for Marquise Noel, but I think the pass just had a little bit too much heat on it. But Kentucky to inbound. 6-5 Kentucky, 13:23 to go in the first. Kassan Wallace, the 5-star freshman guard for Kentucky, bringing the ball up the floor. He's had to have a lot more ball handling duties with Severe Wheeler's injury. Jacob Toppin now kicks to Oscar Sheboy. He kicks to CJ Frederick. Now back up to Kassan Wallace at the top of the key. Back down to Sheboy. And Sheboy with a 2 and 1. It's 8-5 Kentucky. That's going to be really tough for Kansas State to be able to slow down Oscar Sheboy. He's a beast on the block. Naquan Tomlin, he's trying, but he already had Sheboy so deep. Buckeye Mike, he says, yes, it is, Jeff. I can't wait. The Columbus games are so fun today. I see Marquette and FDU winning today. I'm torn on FDU, FAU because I like both teams. I completely agree. I think both of those teams, they scrap hard. It should be a really fun game between the lower seeds. But Marquette, Michigan State should be great as well. But Oscar Sheboy at the line for the and one. And it rattles in, out, and back in. So Kentucky up 9-5. 13 to go in the first. Jerome Tang trying to get his Kansas State team to settle down a little bit. They do look a little wired up early. But Oscar Sheboy had 25 rebounds in Kentucky's first round win over Providence. That's insane for one player to have that many rebounds. 25 boards. Keontae Johnson, they call a blocking foul on top, and he probably thought he had a charge, but I think he was moving his feet, wasn't really set. But Keontae Johnson, he definitely got lucky on that one that they did not call an offensive. But Kansas State to inbound. No free throws because Kentucky's not in the bonus and he wasn't shooting the basketball. But down to Naquan Tomlin. What a pass from Keontae Johnson and Naquan Tomlin. That was a really good pass. 9-7. But Kentucky, only with a 2-point lead. 9-7, 12:30 to go in the first half. Both teams are struggling a little bit on the offensive end. Kentucky's only 4 of 13 from the field. Kansas State's only 3 of 10. So both teams trying to find their way. Crazy. Kassan Wallace with the ball at the top of the key. He's trying to drive, kicks to Jacob Toppin. Back to Wallace. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Kentucky run out of time. 2 seconds. Wallace has to shoot a 3, and he knocks it down. Clutch. 12-7 Kentucky. That went down to the end of the shot clock, and he makes it. What a big shot. 12-7 Kentucky. Kansas State. Marquise Noel shoots a 3. He misses. But Kansas State gets the rebound. They miss another 3. Jacob Toppin with the rebound. Kansas State taking bad shots. If you're not making your threes, try to get it inside. But Kentucky, they hit a big 3 in their own right. Reeves in the corner. He misses a 3. Kansas State with the rebound, trying to settle this one down. But another steal. Naquan Tomlin with a bad pass. Wallace for 2 and 1. 14-7 Kentucky. Teddy Boy says, I made it. Thanks for being here, Teddy Boy. He says, the night you weren't on, a 16-seed beat a 1. Yeah, Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue. That was insane. I was watching that game. Crazy. That was a crazy game. Will and D says, what a shot, for sure. Buckeye Mike says, Kentucky's starting to pull away. I definitely think that Kentucky's looked like the better team so far. Kansas State's had some good looks, but they're just not hitting them. But they'll have to settle down. Teddy Boy said, I think this game is going to be close all the way to the end, just like the Kansas-Arkansas game. For sure. I think that Kansas State just has to settle down. They're just looking a little wired up right now. But again, back to your point, Teddy Boy, of the 16 seed beating a 1 seed. That was a great game. Purdue really struggled to shoot the basketball. Zach Edey had a good game, but their style of play has really hurt Purdue in the tournament. They've lost to North Texas, St. Peter's, and Fairleigh Dickinson in the last 3 seasons. That's insane. All losing to teams that were really low seeds in the tournament, and Purdue losing early in the tournament. Just not a good look overall, but Purdue's going to have to get things figured out. Jeff says for 3, baby. Kentucky's looking good early. They had some struggles on the offensive end. They're now starting to figure it out. And when you hit a big shot like what Kassan Wallace just hit at the end of the shot clock, that's just a big momentum booster, because overall Kansas State played great defense on that whole possession. Wallace has to shoot a 3, a desperation 3, and he knocks it down. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And I think in that particular possession right there, Kentucky in that big 3 could definitely help boost their momentum in this game. Buckeye Mike says, Iowa and Georgia women's is a tight one right now. Definitely a lot of great women's action as well. NIT, just so many great games. Jeff says, to table, going to be a good one here. I think this should be a good game. As long as Kansas State doesn't fall behind, you can hang with Kentucky, start making some shots. Both teams have a lot of talent. Both Wildcats are going to be hungry to get this win. Kentucky hasn't made the Sweet 16 in a few seasons, which has made a lot of Big Blue Nation fans upset. Kansas State has had one of the best seasons they've had in a long time. Jerome Tang has done a great job in his first season as their head coach. Keontae Johnson has been a great story. So both teams playing high-level basketball this season, but Kentucky definitely playing better to start this game. Teddy Boy says, I was in another stream for the Purdue game, and everyone was going crazy. For sure. I mean, if you're a Purdue fan, it's definitely upsetting to lose, especially to Fairleigh Dickinson. That's just a bad look overall, like when Virginia lost to UMBC, so it's tough. But everyone that wasn't a fan of either team just watching that game, it was insane. Completely insane. Teddy Boy says, my team Duke is out, but my pick to win all Texas is still alive. That's unfortunate. Duke lost. I did live stream that game yesterday, and Duke really struggled all around. I think they just couldn't make shots. Their youth really showed up in that one. And yes, Mark Mitchell, he was not able to play for some reason. I think he was injured, but I think that overall, looking at Duke, they just could not make shots. They really struggled on the offensive end. And Tennessee played great defense. And Olivier Nakuma, he had 27 points. Just a fantastic performance from him. Santiago Vescovi was solid, had 14. Tennessee just had enough offense, and they played great on the defensive end. But to your point, Texas looking really good right now. I think Texas is a team that could go far if they keep up their high level of play. They'll play Xavier. Since Xavier beat Pitt, they'll play Xavier in the Sweet 16. But Kassan Wallace, he hits the free throw. So now Kentucky up 15-7. Kansas State, where's the offense going to come from? Marquise Noel really struggling right now at the point guard position. I think the length of Kentucky's getting to him. But Ismail Massoud for Kansas State trying to take a tough step back too. He misses, and Oscar Tshiebwe with yet another rebound. He's racking up the boards already. Kansas State cannot put a body on him. Kentucky Wildcats up 15-7. 10:50 to go in the first. Kassan Wallace for two. He misses the shot. And Keontae Johnson with the rebound. Kansas State pushing the ball down the floor. Marquise Noel, he kicks the ball, and Kansas State with an easy layup, 15-9. Will Indy says, I picked Bama to win it all. That's a pretty good pick. Alabama's playing great basketball right now. But I think that this March Madness has shown that anyone can be beat. It should be a lot of fun. C.J. Frederick with the ball for Kentucky kicks to Jacob Toppin. Toppin's driving in, and Toppin misses a layup. Tshiebwe tried to get the rebound, but Kansas State does get the board. 15-9. Kansas State trying to get back in this game. Only down 6, 10 to go in the first. It's not a huge deficit. Marquise Noel trying to drive on Tshiebwe. They kick to Keontae Johnson. He misses the layup. Tshiebwe with yet another rebound. Such a big body down low. Jacob Toppin. Now back to Tshiebwe. I think there's another topic, but Kentucky is the arrow this time. Jeff says to Tay, boy, they played really bad, referencing Duke for sure. They really struggled. Tay Valencia says, how are you doing? It's never unfortunate that Duke lost. I'm doing really good. Got a great game right here between Kentucky and Kansas State. I mean, it is unfortunate for Duke. I mean, if you're a Duke fan, I'm just, a blue blood going down. Some people like the blue bloods being in the tournament, but if you're not a Duke fan, it was a great win for Tennessee, and Rick Barnes really needed it. Rick Barnes had not had a lot of success in the tournament, but he was able to lead his Volunteers. He coached them well in that game, had them playing great defense. Tennessee stuck to the game plan. They got the job done. But Kentucky and Kansas State on the floor, I think there's another top, and Kansas State has the possession arrow this time. This game, both teams are scrapping hard for the basketball. Clint Moses says Duke basically only had 4 players score. Yeah, they definitely struggled on offense. Jeremy Roach, he did not have a good second half. He was in foul trouble. Tyrese Proctor played well, but Kyle Filipowski fell asleep in the second half. Tayboy said we could have used Mark Mitchell. He's very physical for sure. He's a good player. He's averaging like 8 or 9 points a game this year. Good on defense. Maybe he could have slowed down Olivier Nakuma for Tennessee, but unfortunately he's not able to play, and we'll never know. Will and D said you can't leave that short. Got to make your layups. Got to make your shots. Marquise Noel and only 5'8", though, trying to run the point for Kansas State. And Kentucky's just such a long team. They don't have Severe Wheeler out there to match up with him. So you've got Kassan Wallace at 6'4", going up against Marquise Noel. And another turnover for Kansas State. Kentucky basketball. Lance Ware's in the game for Kentucky. Chris Livingston with the ball, swings it to Antonio Reeves. Oscar Tshiebwe's on the bench as well. They have Damian Collins in. But Kentucky up 15-9 with 9 to go in the first. Antonio Reeves with the basketball again. Back to Livingston, only 5 seconds on the shot clock. Kansas State playing good defense. Livingston, he takes a tough 2 and he knocks it down. 17-9 Kentucky. What a shot by Livingston. What a shot. Trip Pugh, thanks for being here, Trip. He says, what's up? Got a really good game here between Kentucky and Kansas State. Both Wildcats playing hard, but Kentucky up 17-9 with 8:40 to go in the first. Marquise Noel still struggling in this game. Keontae Johnson driving in. He slips, trying to go by Lance Ware, and he gets blocked by Damian Collins. But they do call a goaltend on Damian Collins, so it's 17-11. Calipari probably doesn't like that call at all. But I think that the ball might have been going down. Might have hit the backboard as well. But they give a goaltend, so Kansas State back down by 6. Dave Valencia says, win or lose, a Wildcat is going to be happy for sure. Some Wildcat has to win. It's kind of tough to say the Wildcats have the ball. Like sometimes, I go like the other team has the ball by using their second name. It's like the Spartans have the ball, the Trojans, but can't even do that because they're both Wildcats. So you have to specify Kansas State or Kentucky. 8:10 to go in the first. Reeves with the ball. Kicks to Chris Livingston, who just hit a tough shot. He's driving in yet again. And Livingston misses this time. Almost gets his own miss. but Kansas State ends up with the basketball down 17-11, 8 to go in the first. Desi Sills is driving in. He tried to go with a slam dunk, but they do call a foul on Kentucky. Teddy Boy says, I'm picking Michigan State to beat Marquette. That could happen because Tom Izzo, you can never count him out. He's got a really solid team. They play well against USC. But Marquette having a great year. Marquette having a really good year. Shaka Smart, for the first time ever, to me, has an elite offensive team as well as an elite defensive team. They're good on both sides of the ball. So, for sure, they're going to have to play really hard, Michigan State does, if they want to beat Marquette. Because Marquette is a great team. Will and D says, I would love to see all the Big Blue Nation go home and say, laughing a lot of Kentucky fans. Kentucky fans travel. A lot of people don't like Kentucky. A lot of people don't like the blue blood teams because of the fact, maybe the cockiness of being a really good team. So if you're not a fan of those teams, you want them to lose. But should be a high-level game. Looking forward to seeing who's able to move on in this game and move to the Sweet 16. Should be fantastic. Both teams have the potential to go far in the tournament if they can get the win. Dave Valensky said it was the same as Missouri and Princeton. I think that you look at Princeton beat Missouri. Princeton played well. Very proud of the Ivy League team, but Missouri played bad. Missouri played really, really bad, but Princeton in the Sweet 16, that's your Cinderella right there. You could potentially have another one with Florida Atlantic or FDU. I think Florida Atlantic might not be as much of a Cinderella because they're a non-seed, but still a smaller school. It should be interesting either way. Will and D says, go Shaka Smart. Obviously, Will likes Shaka Smart because he was at Virginia Commonwealth, but Shaka Smart, he's a good head coach. Had a lot of success. I think he's done a great job at Marquette. It's just a better fit for him than Texas. Texas, the expectations are really high. It's really tough to win in the Big 12. Teddy Boy said whoever wins this game here, I think, is going to the Final Four. You could be right. I think both these teams have a chance to advance far if they can get this win. But Kansas State really struggling early. I think they're just playing a little bit too wired up right now, trying to make the tough play instead of the easy play. But they're still hanging around this game, not down by a lot. And Kansas State will have free throws out of the timeout to try to cut the lead. Clint Moe said, I hope they both lose tons of pressure on Cal after last year in Big 12 bragged about being toughest men's basketball conference. That's right there is the key. People don't like when people brag about teams and conferences for sure. I completely understand you, Clint. But I think a lot of Kentucky fans overreacted with Calipari saying that he should be fired and going to Texas, please, and all that. He's still done a really solid job at Kentucky. And this year's team's not as talented as some of the teams in the past. Still got talent, but he's had some ridiculously talented teams in the past. This year's team, he's had to figure it out a bit more. But Kentucky started to find their way in the second half of the season. Teddy Boy says Princeton makes teams look bad whoever they play. Princeton's a team that they just play smart basketball, and they're from the Ivy League. They have smart players, high IQ individuals, and they don't turn it over. They don't make mistakes. You have to rattle Princeton if you want to beat them. If you can't rattle them, then Princeton's going to have a really good chance to win. And I'm not saying Missouri overlooked them because I don't see how Missouri could overlook them when you look at the way Princeton beat Arizona. But I do think you look at Missouri, they just played an awful game. And Princeton was able to get the victory. Now they're in the Sweet 16, and you never know. Again, I'm not saying any of these teams are off the table of advancing any further. What we've seen in March Madness this year, anybody can advance. Any team can beat any team. You got to bring your A game every single game. But it's 17-11 Kentucky, 7:58 to go in the first. Donna Perkins, thanks for being here. K-State are the only Wildcats. Well, there's too many Wildcats. You got Arizona. You got Villanova. You've got Kentucky. You've got Kansas State. There's so many Wildcats. It's just a very popular name to use. We got both Wildcats in this one. Desi Sills, he hits both free throws. Teddy Boy says it's weird saying Princeton in the Sweet 16. It's crazy. But I don't think it's any weirder than St. Peter's or Loyola Chicago. But to your point, it is crazy. But just so many of these teams are advancing these days. Kassan Wallace bringing the ball up the floor for Kentucky. Kentucky only with a 4-point lead. 7:40 to go in the first. It's 17-13. Kansas State's hanging around. Kassan Wallace is driving and takes a pull-up two. He misses. And Kansas State with the rebound falls into the shortest player on the floor, Marquise Noel's hands. He's bringing the ball up the floor. He's had a tough first half of this game. Looks like Kansas State's taking Desi Sills off the floor. He's a little banged up, but he's got 5 points and 2 rebounds early in this one, so that's tough for Kansas State if he's not able to return, but hopefully it's just a stinger for him. Looks like his hip's hurting a little bit. Probably got banged up on that rebound. Probably Sheboy. Sheboy's a large, got to box out for sure, but Marquise Noel being hounded at the top of the key. He trying to drive in. He kicks to Keontae Johnson for 3, and he misses, but Naquan Tomlin with the rebound, and he scores over Oscar Sheboy at 17-15, and Kansas State's getting back in this one. Where's the offense going to come from for Kentucky? Chris Livingston's had a nice impact. Oscar Sheboy's gotten some points, but Jacob Toppin, he's been cold early in this game. He kicks to C.J. Frederick down to Sheboy. And Sheboy trying to go up. They might have called a foul on Keontae Johnson, I think, on that one. They tried to get another top on Sheboy, but he might have got a bit of arm. Will and D says VCU beat Princeton last year in the first round of the NIT and beat St. Peter's last year too. That's really cool on VCU. Unfortunately, VCU did not advance this time around. But Oscar Sheboy misses a jump shot. He has really tried to improve at shooting the mid-range, but he did a better job last year. He's been much better on the block this year. But Kansas State with another open 3 in the corner and another miss. They had a chance to take the lead, and Sheboy gobbling up more rebounds. But Kassan Wallace with the basketball. He's trying to drive. Kicks to C.J. Frederick in the corner, and Frederick hits a big 3. The Iowa transfer, who's had a lot of injuries throughout his career, hits a big shot. Kentucky's up 20-15. But Kansas State right down the floor with another layup. It's 20-17. Kansas State's running the floor, and they're dangerous in transition. But you got Chris Livingston now with the basketball. He swings to Wallace. The freshman duo have been solid for Kentucky, especially in the second half of the season. Wallace kicks to Toppin, who's been really cold early in this one. Kicks to Livingston, and what a nice backdoor cut by Livingston. It's 22-17 Kentucky. Kentucky moving the basketball really well right now. Marquise Noel trying to drive down the floor. Again, Kansas State lethal in transition, and Noel for 2. What a layup. 22-19. Dave Valensky says the Ivy League always gets overlooked, mostly because over the years it was only Princeton and Penn. Now the rest of the league is good, and it's probably the toughest small middle major. I agree. Yale's had some good runs. A lot of teams in that conference. Really good conference. 22-19. Kentucky. Livingston misses a 3. And the ball is off Kentucky. It is Kansas State basketball. 22-19 Kentucky, 5:17 to go in the first. With some high-level action between the Wildcats. Will and D says K-State starting to settle in. They're starting to look more confident on the offensive end. Looking like they belong. But I think Desi Sills might have got hurt when he tried to dunk that ball. They're showing the replay. That's going to be a tough loss for Kansas State if he can't return, but he's trying to work out that hip. But Kansas State only down 3, 5 to go in the first. Marquise Noel just had a big layup. Maybe that can get him going. He's a really quick player, but he has to use his speed because he's only 5'8". K-State in the corner for 3. They miss. And Wallace with the rebound. He falls to the floor. He looks a little banged up. Hopefully he's okay. But Reeves with the basketball, and they're going to stop action for Wallace, who's on the ground. Don't know what happened to him if he got tripped up there. Hopefully he's okay. There's been some injuries early so far in this game. Both teams are playing really hard. When you got two teams playing really hard, you're going to have some injuries. But Wallace, he fell to the floor. Oh, he got hit by Sheboy's knee. Sheboy kneed Wallace right in the head. That's an unfortunate play. I would not want to get hit by Sheboy. More friendly fire. We saw some friendly fire in the game yesterday. Maryland, a player for them, Julian Reese, hit his teammate Patrick Emilion right in the head. He was bleeding really bad, had to get stitches. So definitely some friendly fires. These teams are trying to play really hard, but Sheboy unfortunately hit Wallace right in the head, so hopefully Wallace is okay. But Wallace has to go to the bench. Reeves with the basketball. Kicks to Toppin. Toppin's trying to take a tough 2, and he misses. But Toppin gets his own miss. The ball goes right back out to him, but he turns the basketball over, but they do call a deflection off Kansas State. Look like Toppin turned it over, but it's going back to Kentucky. Clint Moses says Princeton backdoor cut's a thing of beauty. The backdoor cut should be used more often in college basketball. I think a lot of teams have forgotten about it. Wisconsin used to do it a lot. You just set a ball screen, run off that screen, backdoor cut to the baseline, get the pass, and lay it in. It's a beautiful play. But Kentucky with a 22-19 lead, Kentucky almost turns the basketball over, but there's another top, and Kentucky has the arrow. There's been about 5 tops in this game. Both teams are fighting hard for the basketball, wanting to move on to the Sweet 16. Will and D says if Ace Baldwin didn't get hurt, we might have won. I did see his injury. That really hurt for Virginia Commonwealth. I saw that. It's very unfortunate he got hurt. They would have had a much better chance to win if he hadn't have gotten hurt. But St. Mary's, they played a really good game. St. Mary's is a solid team. They're going to be playing later, so we'll see if they can move on to the Sweet 16. But VCU had a good season overall, just could not advance, especially due to Ace Baldwin's injury. But Kentucky up 22-19 on Kansas State, 4:19 to go in the first. Thanks, everyone, for being here so far. Like the stream down below. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Thanks for being here, everybody. We got a really great game so far. Kentucky with the basketball, up 3 on Kansas State, 4 to go in the first. Reeves, he gets blocked, but the ball goes off Kansas State. Thanks for being here, One Scoop John. He says, hey, everyone. Thanks for being here, John. We got a really good game between Kentucky and Kansas State. 4 to go in the first, Kentucky to inbound. Jeff says, what a dunk. That definitely was a great dunk by Livingston. But Wallace, he's back in the game. Great sign for Kentucky to see Wallace back in the game. Thankfully, Sheboy's knee did not affect him too badly. Wallace seems to be okay. He kicks to Sheboy. And they call a foul on Kansas State, I think on Naquan Tomlin. That might be a second foul. Unless they called it on Keontae Johnson. Teddy Boy says, great game so far, for sure. This has been an awesome game. But we're at the under 4 timeout. Both teams are playing some high-level basketball. Not as much offense as maybe to be expected. But I think a lot of these teams are really struggling early on in the game. For sure. In NCAA tournament this year because of the fact you're just trying to play so hard. You want to win. And you have that anxiety. And you're just struggling early. But usually in the second half, the teams get it figured out. Easy Money, thanks for being here, Easy Money. Hey, Jeffrey, what's up, everyone? Roll Tide, roll, and go SEC versus these non-conference. Well, Kentucky definitely looking good early. Teddy Boy says Big 12 and SEC both with 4 teams left in the tournament. That just goes to show you that both conferences are playing really good basketball. The Big 10's only down to 2. Michigan State and Indiana are left. Would really be a good look for the Big 10 if at least one of those teams can get to the Sweet 16. But the Big 12 and the SEC are looking really good. Clint Moses says Kentucky doesn't have classic checkerboard uniform on. It's a bad omen. Gotta have the checkerboard. But Kentucky is playing fairly well, but Kansas State has missed a lot of easy shots. If they can start making some shots, they could pose a threat to Kentucky for sure. Easy Money says we've already had more friendly fire in this game. Kentucky on Kentucky this time. Oops. I mean, it's been insane. I just think overall you look at, the way these teams are playing. They're playing so hard that sometimes they're unaware of where they're at on the floor. I mean, Sheboy didn't mean to, but Wallace got hit right in the head, and then Julian Reese and Patrick Emilian in the Maryland game. It's just insane. Vaughn Hook, thanks for being here. He says, I'm subbed you. Thanks so much for subbing, Vaughn Hook. Thanks for being here. Got a great game. You guys are all awesome. John Demo says, Jeffrey's all kinds of good insights on sports. Definitely worth the sub. Thank you, John. That means a lot. But thanks to everyone for being here so much. Got a big game. March Madness this year is delivered. There's been so many great games. I mean, some people say some March Madnesses are better than others. I don't know. I think, obviously, there's some that stick out some years, especially the ones where you had a Cinderella go far. But I think that every March Madness is great. It's one of the best tournaments of any sport. Easy Money says, as expected, though, the SEC and the Big 12 are the best teams in the Power 5 conferences. Well, they're just playing great basketball. They have a lot of talent. Sometimes the talent translates. You look at the Big 12 and the SEC, they're getting a lot of the greatest players. The top 5-star recruits, the Big 10s really struggle to get top players. The Pac-12 has really struggled to get top players. The ACC, Duke and Kentucky, or Duke and Carolina, they've been down, but Kentucky's still getting a lot of talent in the SEC. And see, in the past, Kentucky was the only team that got a lot of talent in the SEC. But you look at now, Alabama's getting 5 stars. Arkansas is getting 5 stars. Auburn's getting players. Tennessee's recruiting well under Rick Barnes. I think overall, the fact that the SEC is getting a lot of teams that are getting, a lot of really good players. The Big 12, Texas, Baylor, Kansas. The ACC is just Duke and Carolina. It gets really good players, but Carolina's been down now without Roy Williams. Duke did not have as good of a season. It's just not a good look for the ACC. In the Big Ten, the only team in the Big Ten that got any 5-star recruits the last couple of years was Indiana. Purdue doesn't recruit 5 stars. I'm not saying 5 stars is the be-all and end-all, but that's definitely why the Big 12 and the SEC are so great, because they're getting a lot of great players. Kentucky turns the basketball over, and Kansas State has the basketball now. I think they call a foul on Kentucky for reaching in. Jeff said he does really well. Enjoy. Thanks so much, Jeff, for the compliment. Teddy Boy says the look on the Purdue fans' face at the end of the game. Oh, it was a meltdown, unfortunately. But, what else are you going to do? There's not much else you can do. You're just going to be so upset for what happened. You shouldn't lose. There's no way you should lose. It's just so unfortunate if you're a Purdue fan. But if you're just any other, any other team's fan or just a sports fan in general, it was awesome seeing a 16 seed beat a 1 because it rarely ever happens. Wallace with 2 fouls for Kentucky. He goes to the bench. Marquise Noel trying to drive in. Kicks to Keontae Johnson, and Johnson misses another 3. Kansas State's missed a lot of open 3s. Jacob Toppin, he's driving and kicks to Sheboy. Now Frederick with an open 3. He misses. But Livingston with the rebound. Kentucky's rebounding on the glass well. Reeves misses a 3. And Naquan Tomlin with the rebound. Kicks the ball to Keontae Johnson. Marquise Noel behind the back to Keontae Johnson. What a play. Marquise Noel went behind the back. That might be a Sports Center top 10. 22-21. The Kansas State fans are getting into this one. Marquise Noel with 4 assists and another steal. Bad pass from Toppin to Sheboy. Noel do another pass to Johnson. And he gets fouled this time. Will and D says K-State got to start hitting some jump shots, but at least survive Kentucky's first punt. This is going to be a scrappy game for sure. It's going to be a lot of bumps and bruises for both these teams by the end of this one. Easy Money said, I've said before the term started, the Big Ten's in 8 teams, the SEC's in 8. I said, I bet the SEC teams go further with my Crimson Tide winning the championship. Well, for sure, so far, the Big Ten's losing early yet again. The Big Ten really needs Indiana or Michigan State to at least go to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 to at least salvage it. But the SEC looking better for sure. Keontae Johnson at the line. He knocks down the first, and we have a tie ball game, 22-22, 2:50 to go in the first. Keontae Johnson starting to explode in the latter part of this first half. Marquise Noel starting to pass the ball really well. And they're showing Tyler Ulis, the former Kentucky guard. He's the current student assistant coach for Kentucky. It's really cool. Thanks for him. He wasn't able to be in the NBA long because they don't usually take smaller players anymore. But Kansas State with the lead, 23-22 over Kentucky. And Kentucky's offense has fallen apart a little bit. They're turning the basketball over. They're getting a little sloppy. Antonio Reeves being hounded at the top of the key. They kick to C.J. Frederick. Back to Reeves. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Kansas State still playing good defense. Lance Ware with the ball on the right block. He doesn't know what to do with it. Tries to get it to Oscar Sheboy. And Sheboy goes up and he gets fouled. Such a weapon for Kentucky because he's such a large guy down low. Not much you can do. Dave Valensky says, I slightly disagree. I think the Big East is underlooked this year. I would have, right now, SEC number 1, Big 12 number 2, biggest number 3, Big 10 number 4. I agree with the Big East. You're absolutely correct. It's an underlooked conference for sure. Marquette has some talent. Not a lot of 5-stars going to the Big East, but UConn's starting to get some players again. So potentially the Big East is getting back on the map. Villanova's down now without Jay Wright. Hopefully Kyle Neptune can get them back on track. But Oscar Sheboy drains the first free throw to tie the game back up 23-all. But Providence has been improving under Ed Cooley. Xavier's playing better basketball now with Sean Miller back at head coach. And they're starting to recruit better. So the Big East definitely has a chance to move up the ladder in the conference tier standings. But Oscar Sheboy with another free throw. Tie ball game. And Sheboy, it rolls off the rim. He did not get the friendly roll. 23-23, 2:20 to go in the first half. Both teams playing great defense. Both teams missing some relatively easy shots. But K-State 5 of 6 at the line. Kentucky 3 of 4. Not a lot of free throws to show for the physicality. But Marquise Noel, he's driving in. He gets all the way to the rack. He dishes it off. And Kansas State misses a layup, but Naquan Tomlin with the putback. John Calipari thinks it's basket interference, but they do not review it. Kansas State up 25-23, 1:50 to go in the first, and Antonio Reeves with the basketball kicks to C.J. Frederick. Now Livingston has the ball. Kentucky looking a little rattled on the offensive end right now. Antonio Reeves, he's driving and takes a tough two, and he misses again. Oscar Tshiebwe with another rebound on the offensive glass, and he misses it too. It goes in and out. Livingston gets blocked from behind by Naquan Tomlin, and it's off Kansas State. High-flying action down low. Teddy Boy says, well, easy. Whoever wins this game will take the lead for best conference in the tournament. Definitely make that argument for sure. I think both conferences are fantastic this year, and this game is showing that for sure. But Kansas State's a great story. The Wildcats of Kansas State letting Keontae Johnson get a breather, but Kentucky's missed their last 8 field goal attempts. Lance Ware with the ball. Swings it to Antonio Reeves. Tshiebwe driving in. Doesn't know what to do, and he turns the basketball over yet again. Kentucky struggling on offense. And Naquan Tomlin, he tried to slam it down, but he gets fouled. Troy V says K-State putting on a passing showcase the last 2 possessions. They have a great point guard in Marquise Noel, and he's a great passer. He's a really great passer. Even though he's undersized and sometimes he struggles to score, especially against bigger teams, he's a great passer, gets his teammates involved really well. But Naquan Tomlin at the line, he's got 6 points and 6 rebounds early, but he misses the first free throw. Got to make your free throws. But Naquan Tomlin, he's definitely held his own against Oscar Tshiebwe. But he's at the line for one more free throw to try to extend the K-State lead to 3. And he misses both free throws, and Tshiebwe with yet another rebound. He has to already have 10 boards by now. But Kentucky, 1 point in the last 4 minutes and 50 seconds. Kentucky's gone cold on the offensive end. Lance Ware with the basketball. Kicks to Tshiebwe. He misses another layup. Tshiebwe with another rebound. And Tshiebwe with a dunk and one. 25-25. It's almost like Tshiebwe sometimes misses just so he can get his rebound to pad the rebounding stats. But what a play by Oscar Tshiebwe. He gets the ball in the right block. He misses the layup, gets the ball back, and he gets fouled when he goes up for the dunk. What a play. 25-25. And those Naquan Tomlin missed free throws loom large because Kansas State could have still had the lead, but Tshiebwe can take the lead right here. For Kentucky, he's got 10 points and 11 rebounds. His 8th career double-double in the first half. Tshiebwe's playing hard for Kentucky in the tournament. He hits the free throw, and it's 26-25. Kentucky with a 1-point lead over Kansas State. 54 seconds to go in the first half. Jackson Johnson says Kentucky's in big, big trouble. Some Bird with T and some Who's are very happy to hear that, of course, but I don't blame them, though. For sure. I mean, I'm glad I got a family member that loves Kentucky, so I'm glad they're playing well, but I'm also would be happy for Kansas State as well because Kansas State's had a great season, but it's been a high-level game. Made the better team win. It's been high-level action. Can't ask for a better game than this. Marquise Noel's driving in. He lays it up and in. Marquise Noel all the way to the hoop. No resistance from Kentucky's defense. 27-26. Antonio Reeves kicks to Lance Ware. Now Chris Livingston with the ball down to Damian Collins, and it's a turnover. Kentucky fans probably thought Naquan Tomlin fouled. He made a little bit of contact, but they call it turnover. Easy Money says to Dave, good analogy, talking about the Big East. Jackson says now K-State leading 23-22. Well, now they're up 27-26, and they had the ball last before half. So they should be leading at half regardless if they take the last shot. 15 seconds left. Marquise Noel with the ball. Dribbling out the clock, trying to get a last-second shot for Kansas State to extend this lead. 8 seconds to go on the shot clock. 5 seconds left. Marquise Noel's driving it to Naquan Tomlin for the slam, 29-26, and that is your halftime score. Kansas State with a 3-point lead over Kentucky at the half. What a first half from both teams. A great defensive first half, but Kansas State's offense came to life toward the end. Teddy Boy says Kansas State is tough. They play a great brand of basketball. Jerome Tang's done a fantastic job with this team. Easy Money says go Kentucky, SEC, SEC, SEC. They could win. They can get their act together in the second half, stop turning the basketball over. They have a lot of talent. Jeff says, oh yeah, SEC. Jackson says we have a 23-23 top day. We have a 25-23 K-State lead, but K-State up at the half. Easy Money says K-State is definitely tough. The Big 12 is an excellent basketball conference, but roll Tide, roll and go SEC. I think the Big 12 and the SEC are both fantastic in basketball, especially the last few seasons. I think the Big 10 has been down, but still a great basketball conference, and the Big East as well. I think there's a lot of great basketball conferences. A lot more parity in basketball with the conferences than in football, where the Big 10 and the SEC definitely dominate. Veritas21, thanks for being here. He's asked who let some wind go. I have no idea. Thanks for being here. Easy Money's laughing out loud. Let's blame the Big 10 guy. It was Troy laughing out loud. Kidding. I don't know. I can't hear what you guys are doing in y'all's places. But thanks everyone for being here. There's a lot of action going on for sure. Jackson, now we have Kentucky leading. But Teddy Boy says, what a game. Jackson says, at the half, Kansas State up 29-26. For sure, it's been a great game. That's what you want to see in these high-level games. You want to see both teams giving everything they've got, all effort, all the time, doing everything they possibly can. Troy V said, as Noel Kidd keeps playing like this, they're going to start making Christmas parody songs about him. Probably, for sure. I mean, his last name, Noel, is not the same as Noel for Christmas, but still, the parody's there. And he's playing well. I mean, he's dropping dimes to his teammates. He is just playing fantastic. He can't score that much, but overall, if you can't score, you do the thing that you're also good at, and that's passing the basketball. Easy Money says K-State with the halftime lead for sure. Van Hook asks, favorite college basketball team? That's a good question. And I like a lot of teams. I'm just a really big sports fan in general. I love college basketball, college football, and the pros. But I like Indiana, I like North Carolina, I like Alabama. But I also have family members that like Kentucky. I like Duke fairly well. I like Kentucky fairly well, even though I have some quibbles with the coaching. But still, just love college basketball in general. Clint Moses says K-State guards are stepping up behind the back pass, between the legs pass, and alley-oop to finish that. That's how you got to win. You've got to outplay the other team. And so far, at times in this first half, Kansas State has outplayed Kentucky. Easy Money says, hey, y'all, hold her down. Try to be back later. Got to see what my girl was nagging about, laughing aloud. Try to be back after a while. Make no mistake, I'm the boss. Y'all don't tell my girlfriend. She already knows. That's a good one, Easy Money. But he says later, y'all, hopefully you can be back. No big deal. Sometimes, family matters are more important. Girlfriend matters are more important. But hopefully you can make it back. You're awesome, man. Thanks for being here. But we'll see if the Big 12 or the SEC will win this Wildcat matchup. Jackson Johnson, he says, we have ourselves a fantastic SEC Big 12 battle. How cool would it be if we have a national title matchup with Alabama, Arkansas? Well, that would be interesting to have two teams from the same conference in the national championship. And I think both teams are supremely talented. Arkansas, they're a bit more inconsistent than Alabama, but they have great players, and they showed that against Kansas. And you look at Alabama as well, great players. That would be a high-level national championship for sure. Troy says, have a good one, Easy, and keep telling yourself you're the volume if you don't believe it. Dave Valensky says, yeah, it's been a down here in the Big Ten. You can tell the way everybody was seated, other than Purdue and Indiana, everybody else was seated 7th and lower, for sure. I think that Indiana overall has the best chance to go far in the tournament if they can get by Miami tonight. Because Indiana has a lot of talent. A lot of people, down on Indiana because they've been bad for many years, and with good reason. But Mike Woodson's in town now. Trace Jackson Davis for one last go-around. I think this is going to really boost morale for Indiana. Should help them get players in the transfer portal. Should help them with recruiting. But Indiana is probably the most talented team in the Big Ten. They were more talented than Purdue. Purdue had the best year overall, but Indiana's showing that they are a really talented team. They got to win their first game, and it will be interesting to see if Indiana, with their talent and Mike Woodson, or Tom Izzo, and his experience as a head coach, and his team can go farther in the Big Ten. It'll be really interesting if both lose, and the Big Ten's already out. That'll be crazy. Teddy Boy says he's got Texas versus Houston in the Elite Eight. Well, if Texas can get by Xavier, and Houston can get by whoever wins Miami, Indiana, that will be a high-level Elite Eight. I could see Houston losing to Miami or Indiana, especially if Miami or Indiana play a great game. But if Houston plays well, they could win that one. Texas, Xavier should be a great game, but Xavier's going to have to play a great offensive game because Xavier does struggle on the defensive end. And I think that Texas, they're a team that shoots well, and they have great guards, so they could win as well. Teddy Boy says Indiana did bad rebounding against Kent State and allowed Kent State to get many putbacks and second chances. They can't do that versus Houston because Houston crashes the board. For sure, I think the problem with Indiana is that outside of Trace Jackson Davis, the rest of the team isn't that great at rebounding. They rely way too much on Jackson Davis to get rebounds. I think Kentucky does the same thing with Sheboy. But Sheboy is just so large. He's just a huge body that he's able to get a lot of rebounds. I think Trace Jackson Davis is a great rebounder as well, but he struggles to get rebounds more than Sheboy. But that is a great point. You are absolutely correct. Indiana's going to have a chance, if they beat Miami, of beating Houston. They're going to have to really crash the glass, do a much better job of not allowing Houston to get second chances because Houston does a great job of crashing the glass and getting putbacks. Clint Moses says, I picked Miami beating Indiana in my bracket. Wong needs to catch fire. For sure. And see, he had a bad game against Drake. Now, a lot of times when you have a bad game, then the next game you go out there and play really well. So for Wong and Miami, he could have a fantastic game against Indiana and Miami wins. But if he struggles again and Miami's not able to handle Trace Jackson Davis, because, see, Miami's tallest player is 6'7". Norchad Omier, great player. Really good transfer addition for Jim Larinaga. But he's not going to be able to slow down Trace Jackson Davis more than likely. He put up over 20 points, 10 boards, 5 blocks, and 5 assists against Kent State. It's going to be really interesting. I'm looking forward to that game tonight. Will and D says, can I call in? I guess you can during the half. Do it really quick for Will and D. If you want to call in. Jackson John says that Drake curse hit the University of Drake. I think that Drake played well. I think they did. But overall, you look at Drake. They just fell asleep at the end, could not score on offense. They got cold. And Miami's just a great scoring team. They're very good on the offensive end. And I think that if you look at that, if Drake had found a way to keep scoring, they could have beat Miami. But they just couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. How you doing, Will?
I'm doing good, Jeffrey. I just want to talk about Jerome Tang, and I think he's awesome. I'm a big Jerome Tang fan.
Oh, he's fantastic. He's done a great job in his first season as their head coach. I didn't think he'd do this well.
Mm-hmm. This is a tweet that I saw from Fran Fraschilla that I really liked. So on March 21st of last year, when Jerome Tang first entered Kansas State, there was only 2 players on the team. And he got a whole bunch of players from the portal, and they're beating up Blue Blood in Kentucky in the NCAA tournament. I mean, I don't think anyone's done a better job in the country this year. I mean, maybe Princeton coach, but yeah, I just wanted to say that about Jerome Tang, like the job that he's done.
Oh, you're good, man. Absolutely, 100%. I mean, you look at it, he should be coach of the year by everybody. I think Jerome Tang, has done a fantastic job all around. Keontae Johnson is a great story in his own right because a lot of people didn't even think he'd play college basketball again. I mean, that collapse on the floor at Florida, I remember watching that, just being blown away. I was praying for him hard, but just seeing him back on the floor with Jerome Tang, with Marquise Noel, it's been awesome to see this year. And if they beat Kentucky, they deserve it.
Yeah. Well, great show, Jeffrey. I know you wanted me to make it quick, so I made it quick. But great show, man, and hopefully this is a great second half.
Oh, thanks, man. You're good. Just trying to get the play-by-play. I love the play-by-play part. But thanks, man. Thanks for calling in. And you're absolutely right with Jerome Tang. Definitely want you to call in soon again. Talk to you later, man. I'll definitely be talking to you.
See you, buddy.
Thanks, man. Teddy Boy says Princeton is this year's Cinderella. We got Jackson as well. What's going on, Jackson?
Oh, not much. How's it going, Jeffrey?
It's going pretty good. This game's been high flying action for both teams. Kansas State playing well. Kentucky's had some moments. What's your biggest takeaways from this first half?
Oh, man, it's been a very tight matchup. And Kentucky's really going to have to step it up in the second half.
But I think they will for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we got ourselves another fantastic SEC Big 12 matchup. So I wonder if we're going to see it be like Arkansas, Kansas, or if it's going to be even better than that.
Oh, it could be as good as that game. I mean, you look at Arkansas, Kansas. That was a game back and forth. Both teams playing well. Kansas had the lead. I know a lot of people attribute it to Bill Self not being able to coach, in that game. But I still think Kansas played really well. Been praying hard for Bill Self. But I do think overall you look at Arkansas, they were a really talented team as well. And Devontae Davis had a big second half. He fouled out, but he just did enough. And Ricky Council had some big shots. That was a great game.
Right. It was pretty big, man. So, yeah. I mean, I wonder if we're going to see the SEC have a Final Four this year, kind of like the Big East from 1985, where where it was basically 75% of the Final Four is that one conference.
It could happen. I mean, I think it's a lot harder today for that to happen with so many conferences being good, because you look at the Big East, we could see a team from there make it. The Big 12 could see a team. The SEC could see a team. It's just so tough for that to happen, but it's not impossible. I definitely wouldn't rule it off the table.
Yeah. I see that Teddy Boy's talking about Princeton. Man, Princeton's been fantastic in March this year.
For sure.
I'm just like, I don't know what to say. I'm amazed by what they've done. The Revenge of the Nerds 2023 edition.
I mean, it's amazing to see what they're doing. I mean, Arizona, they're a team that overlooked a lot of Pac-12 opponents this year. Utah, Stanford, Oregon, Washington State. They played bad against all those teams. So I was a little concerned when they made the tournament if they would overlook the small team that they played, and they did. They played horrible against Princeton. Princeton got the win. Then Missouri just flat out didn't play. I don't know what happened. On defense, they just allowed Princeton to run all over them.
Yeah, but Missouri's got a bright future ahead of them with Coach Dennis Gates.
Oh, he's solid. He's really solid. If it wasn't for the coaching jobs of Jerome Tang and some of the other coaches, he would definitely be in consideration for Coach of the Year, because first year, you have him coaching at Missouri. He's done a great job.
Oh, yeah.
How you doing, Dave?
Hey, how's it going?
Not bad. How's the first half looking for you?
I like it. I was born in Kentucky. Probably lived there for maybe like 6 months of my life. Then I moved back to like Michigan, and I moved to Minnesota. So, but yeah, I was born in Louisville, Kentucky. So I guess I don't really care. I really don't care who wins or loses this game.
It's a lot better when you don't care, because when you have like stakes involved, or you want one team to lose and then they're winning, it's really tough. But when it just doesn't really matter, I think it makes it a lot more fun for sure.
And you were talking about Revenge of the Nerds. The irony of all ironies is, do you know where the Revenge of the Nerds and what university that was filmed at?
Ah, man, I forgot where it was.
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Arizona.
Ooh. The irony.
The irony of all ironies on that.
Man, that makes sense. I mean, maybe the Princeton players knew about that. Who knows?
How dare you make fun of us?
Oh, man.
There you go.
No, I'm really, really surprised with just how dominant the SEC has been in basketball. I just remember just a couple of years ago, it was just Kentucky and nobody else. That was it.
Oh man, I agree. Because I mean, we're seeing Bama play fantastic in college basketball. We're seeing Auburn do well. We're seeing Arkansas do well. We're seeing Missouri do well, and we're still kind of wondering if Tennessee's going to break out in March this year. I mean, surely they can't mess up.
Well,
And they will. They'll
I
pull
know
a
Tennessee's
Tennessee, won't
history
they?
there. It's yeah. I don't rely on them. I will always say that their women's basketball team is probably the most dominant in college sports.
Yeah, Pat Summitt was fantastic at Tennessee, man.
Oh, she had a great run at Tennessee, but I think you look at Rick Barnes. I mean, this was a huge win for him as a coach and for the team of Tennessee, because you look at it, they beat Duke. I know Duke doesn't have Coach K anymore, so maybe it's not as big of a deal. It's still a really big win overall. But to your point, Dave, you're absolutely correct with the SEC. It was just Kentucky and nobody else, and now half the conference is really good. I mean, it's insane how many teams are solid. Now, Alabama, Auburn's been better, Tennessee. LSU had some moments until Will Wade got fired. It's just been a lot of really good teams, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think next year, I think the Big Ten will rebound from their drought. Minnesota, I found out, had just recruited a top 5 kid from California, a center. I think they say he's about like 6'9". Some people say he's 6'9". Some people say he's like 7 feet. I think the only thing he needs to do is put a little bit more weight on. He looks like a rail.
Yeah, a lot of times when you have a thin center, you always get worried because of the injuries to their knees or something like that. But you need to bulk up, especially in the Big Ten with all the physicality in the Big Ten. But I think that would be huge for Minnesota.
The Big Ten physicality is almost like what it used to be like in the NBA back when the Pistons were the bad boys.
Oh yeah.
Back in the days when it was basically no blood, no foul.
Yeah, the Malice and the Palace for sure. I mean, all those moments, the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s in the NBA were insane. The physicality was nuts.
Oh yeah.
Well, Michigan State's still in it, and I know Northwestern's out. Indiana's still got a shot. They should be a Final Four team. Because, I mean, Houston's been looking very sloppy. It's going to catch up to them next week against Indiana or Miami.
I think regardless of what happens tonight with Indiana, I think they were the best team in the Big Ten this year. I really do. All season long, they had some injuries that limited their potential, and they had a lot of close losses. But if you look at their roster on paper, they're the most talented team in the Big Ten this season.
Yeah. I mean, Fairleigh Dickinson figured out, basically probably watched game footage of all the Purdue losses, and every time Purdue lost, it was the same way that Fairleigh Dickinson beat them. They can't shoot the three very well, so you just block out their big guy, and that's it. That's how you dominate that game. But what else was I going to say? Yeah, I'm just basically, after this game is done, I'm going to turn to ESPN and watch the hockey selection show. That's the big thing up here in Minnesota. See what Minnesota teams get in.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I don't follow hockey that much, but I do know there's a team I think called Duluth or something like that.
Minnesota
really
Duluth.
Good. Minnesota Duluth.
It's the University of Minnesota sister school.
So it's crazy for sure.
Well, to your point, Jeffrey, about Indiana being the best team in the Big Ten, yeah, their record may not show it, but they were definitely a better team than Purdue because they swept them, and they don't get their butts handed to them by Fairleigh Dickinson.
Yeah, they at least moved on to the second round. I mean, they beat Kent State. It wasn't pretty, but they won.
And Indiana doesn't go down against 15 seeds or 14 seeds. Purdue does.
Yeah, Purdue's always been a up and down team. It's either they are really good and they have a great run, or they're just lay a huge egg. They're kind of like Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh man, you should have seen Thursday's show where you hear the term pulling a Virginia.
Oh yeah, it's
And
pulling a
there's
Virginia, it's pulling a Purdue, it's pulling an Arizona.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Tennessee's going to pull a Tennessee.
But at
against
least if they do pull a Tennessee, at least it's in the Sweet 16, not in the first round. Not as bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, surely they can't mess up their easy route to the Final Four, and they probably will, won't they?
Well, there's another team that kind of does this. We're talking about Big East. Xavier is a team that always has a great run, or they lay an egg in the first round.
Yes, yes. Sean Miller, man. He's a great regular season coach, but he's always a disaster in the postseason. You know, I notice a lot of people don't talk enough about how he always falls short of the Final Four. He always did that in Arizona, and he's been falling short of Final Fours at Xavier, because it's like he's great the regular season, but he is a disaster in March.
Yeah, he lost to Buffalo in the first round a few years ago when he was at Arizona, when Nate Oates was the coach of Buffalo. That was a big loss. And then I thought they were losing to Kennesaw State. I thought they were, for sure. They found a way to win that one.
And they whipped Pittsburgh today. And the big test will be, can they beat Texas, next week? That's going to be a good one.
Yeah, yeah. Going back to just coaches that just can't win in the tournament. I don't think you probably remember him more as an ESPN announcer back in the day, but Digger Phelps.
Oh, yeah, he did College Game Day, but then he retired after 20 years.
Yeah, Digger Phelps, when he coached Notre Dame, he would have great regular seasons, and they would just dominate, and he would choke every time. I think he only went to one Final Four out of
1978.
20 times that Notre Dame was in the tournament.
Yeah, he was that coach of Notre Dame for a long time. It's almost like a Gene Katie, Matt Painter, and then you have Digger Phelps, Mike Bray. Both of those teams, both those coaches were head coach for a long time, but never had deep success often. Ever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Dave, I know about a little bit about Digger Phelps, about where I remember reading about this game, 1974, when Notre Dame went up against UCLA and just snapped UCLA's winning streak. They basically shoved John Wooden.
88-game winning streak.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's, like you said, Davey, Notre Dame with Digger Phelps, they were an awesome regular season team, but they always fell short in March.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it looks about like the game's about to start here, so I'll let you guys go, okay?
Thanks for calling in, Dave. You're awesome, man, in the chat. Thanks for being here, but really good chat, man. Hope to have you on soon.
Okay, talk to you later.
Thank you, man.
Bye-bye.
Oh, man, this is going to be fantastic.
And how are you feeling about the second half? What do you feel like Kentucky's got to do to be able to win this one?
Oh, Kentucky's going to have to make some rebounds, some big rebounds, and they got to get some more second chance points.
For sure.
So there's that. They got to really step it up.
I think if you look at, Kentucky, they have to get a lot of rebounds, like you said. They have to make shots, too. They missed a lot of open threes. And Kansas State, if they're going to be able to win this game, they're going to have to continue to pass the ball well on the offensive end. Marquise Noel's got to set up his teammates well, and they got to make shots, too. And keep Kentucky off the offensive glass.
For sure, man. It's going to be a fantastic one. And we're going to have some more fantastic games today with let's see, Michigan State Marquette. That's after this game on CBS. Then we're going to have St. Mary's Connecticut. That's going to be a beautiful one.
Oh, yeah.
Creighton Creighton and the Baylor Bare Necessities on TBS. And True TV, the winner of Fairlight Dickinson and Florida Atlantic will advance to go play against Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
Then you got your boys at Indiana going up against those Miami Hurricanes. Is it going to be all about the U or is it all about the Hoosiers?
Should be
and
great.
We have the last one, the TCU Amphibia Horned Frogs and the Gonzaga Bulldogs.
I'm looking forward to all those games for sure. They should be awesome. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to call the game tonight with TCU Gonzaga. I might, but it depends on my schedule because I do want to see the Indiana game. But it should be a lot of fun for sure. But I'm looking forward to all those games. I definitely see a lot of potential in all those matchups.
Oh, yeah. And it looks like Kentucky, Kansas State are tied up again.
It's 31-30. Kansas State right now. Kentucky's at the line. You might be a little bit ahead of me, Kassan Wallace.
Somewhat.
At the free throw. I'm always a little bit behind, but I get there.
Yeah. So I'm just ready to see what happens.
Wallace hits the free throw. We got a tie game, 31-31. K-State had a 3-point halftime lead, and they hit a layup, but Kentucky's hit a couple shots. 31 all, 18-40 to go in the second.
Oh, man. Got ourselves a big one.
Keontae Johnson misses again. Kentucky with the rebound going down the floor. Top into Sheboy, but a block by Naquan Tomlin. They do call a foul in Kansas State. This game's going back and forth.
Ooh. That's a nail biter.
Teddy Boy says this game's going to go down the wire. I think it will for sure. There's no way it can't the way these two teams are playing. I think it should be a game that goes down the wire. But Chris Livingston at the line for Kentucky for 2 free throws. He misses the first. He's tried to shoot better at the line this year, but he has struggled at times as well. You've got to make your free throws in these big games. He's at the line for one more. He misses again. He misses both free throws. Those free throws could loom large at the end of this game. Marquise Noel with the basketball. And a turnover. Sheboy steals it. Wallace down the floor. And Livingston for 2. Kentucky's retaking the lead. 33-31. It's getting interesting. K-State's going to have to respond.
Oh, yeah.
Noel thought about a 3, kicks to Keontae Johnson.
Maybe Kentucky will go back to the Final Four this year. They'll go to the Final Four for the first time since 2015.
They could. It's definitely possible.
So, little fun fact. Last time Kentucky went to the Final Four, TikTok hadn't even come into existence yet. It's been that long.
That's amazing. I mean, I know TikTok's definitely not as, old as the other social media platforms. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, TikTok, I believe, was first available in 2016. Kentucky's last Final Four trip was 2015.
Well, they'll definitely want to make another one. Well, when Indiana last went to the Final Four in 2002, most of the social media platform hadn't been invented yet. YouTube and all of them.
No, it was the dark ages for sure.
But Kentucky's now up 4. It's 35-31 over Kansas State, and the Wildcats of Kansas State have to call a timeout.
Oh, man, Kentucky is stepping up. They are stepping up in this game. I think I
agree on the game going down the wire.
I think Kentucky heard part of what we were saying, and they're like, "Uh-oh, we got to step up, boys. We haven't been there since before TikTok. Let's go."
Well, I mean, it's not the worst thing. There was a lot of teams that haven't been in the Final Four in a lot longer than that. Again, a.k.a. Indiana. But still, if you're Kentucky, the prop program that you are, you want to get back to the Final Four. And this year, with the amount of parity and the amount of teams that are beatable, this is a really good year for them to do it.
Oh, for sure. It's going to be big. Oh, what if we see a Kentucky-Indiana matchup in March?
That would be insane. The last time Indiana-Kentucky played was in 2016, and Indiana beat them. But then they lost to Carolina in the Sweet 16.
And I know that they're planning to play starting in 2025. They're going to come back to that. So that's going to be fantastic, seeing the Kentucky-Indiana rivalry come back.
Because for a lot of Indiana fans, that's the true rivalry. It's not Indiana-Purdue, it's Indiana-Kentucky. I mean, I think Indiana-Purdue means a lot for the in-state, but there's just something about Indiana-Kentucky, the two blue blood programs going at it. It's just the way it is.
Oh, yeah. So let's see. If Kentucky was to, say, win the East region and Indiana wins the Midwest region, Kentucky and Indiana would have to play each other in the national title.
Oof.
I don't want to see my Bama boys getting beat, but at the same time, I want to see Kentucky and Indiana be reunited before 2025.
Oh, that would be insane if they would meet in the national championship game. It's never happened before. And if it did, that would be crazy. Now, I think the odds of that are pretty low. I don't think Kentucky or Indiana have a great chance to go all the way, especially both of them. I think that would be an even slimmer chance, but you never know.
Anything can happen, but it'd be nice if they play each other in the national title. And, you'll have a lot of people pulling for Indiana to win it all in that matchup.
Probably for sure, especially because they haven't won a national championship in 36 years.
Yeah.
Kentucky, they won in 2012.
Right. Kentucky and Indiana have played each other in March Madness before, and, a few of them were rematches of the regular season. So, I mean, but they never play each other in a Final Four matchup or a national title. But if it happens, it's going to be very beautiful right there.
Oh, it would be awesome. And for sure, that would be a game that has a split crowd.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a big one.
Kentucky is now up 6.
Ooh, yeah. Kentucky's really stepping it up.
It's insane. They're on an 11-0 run. Last 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Where's the offense going to come from for Kansas State?
Oh, yeah. Here we go, Kentucky. Here we go.
Jim Carrington says he thinks K-State going to beat Marquette too.
Ooh, 39-30. Oh, man. Unbelievable.
Hassan Wallace with the basketball again to Antonio Reeves. And Reeves misses with Shibwe with the rebound, and he scores 39-31. The Wildcats of Kentucky are on a 13-0 run, and the game's starting to get away from Kansas State, but they do score a layup. Desi Sills, who's back in the game off of his hip injury, is 39-33. 16 to go in the second. And they call a foul on Kansas State. Teddy Boy says, I have Michigan State beating Marquette. I think a lot of people are split on that game. A lot of people think Michigan State can win. Some people think Marquette could win. Michael Williams says, who do you like in this game between Kentucky and Kansas State? That's a great question. I think looking at this game, at times you feel Kansas State has the advantage, but the way Kentucky's playing right now, I can see Kentucky. Will Indeed says, I hope it ends before 5. I have 5 p.m. Mass. Teddy Boy says, I went to Mass at 8 a.m. That's early. Will says, I'm a little hungover, to be honest. I couldn't make it at 9 or 11 a.m. That's crazy. Clint Moses has a hot take. If Kendall Marshall doesn't break wrists in 2012, I think UNC beats Kentucky. That's interesting to think about. There's a lot of injuries that happen. Indiana, Valen Henderson doesn't tear his ACL in the Sweet 16. Indiana can win at 93. There's been tons of injuries that have limited teams. Jeff says Kentucky's looking good for sure. In the second half, they are rolling over Kansas State.
SEC's dominating college basketball, it seems.
College basketball and college football. They already dominate baseball as well. I guess they're just taking for a total takeover.
Oh, man. Taking over the town everywhere.
Will and D says Kendall Marshall went to Bishop O'Connell, my hometown. That's really cool.
That is cool.
That's really cool.
Oh, yeah. Kendall Marshall.
Can't beat that.
No, you can't. That's a big win.
He was a good player at Carolina. I know he, wasn't a great scorer. He was much better of a passer, but I thought he had an NBA, potential future. He didn't really play much.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder what Kansas State's going to have to do to get back in this game, though. They're really struggling on the offensive end right now. Kentucky's length and physicality is giving Kansas State some fits. Marquise Noel, he's had some good moments, but he cannot score in this game. Kentucky's length's bothering him. Kentucky's really starting to dominate.
Oh, yeah. K-State's got to pick back up.
They have the talent to win.
Oh, yeah. Big 12's in big trouble. What are they going to do if Texas goes to the Final Four this year? That's what I wonder. Are they just going to be like, we can claim them, or we'll just let the SEC claim them?
You never know. I think nothing's off the table. I really don't. I think it's possible that, all these teams could, all these conferences, all these teams that are still alive have a chance to go to the Final Four.
For sure.
Will says I might do a stream night or sometime soon. I want to do a play-by-play. They're fun to do. I love doing the play-by-plays. They're awesome. Clint Moses says Kendall assists rare in ACC is untouchable. Yeah, he was a fantastic passer. He was the reason those Carolina teams were good. He had a lot of success. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the second half. Can Kansas State make a run to get back in the lead, try to find a way to win, or is Kentucky just going to keep dominating? And like you said, and everyone's pointing out, show that the SEC is the most dominant conference. I don't necessarily think just because Kentucky wins, it shows that the SEC is better than the Big 12 this year. I think the Big 12 overall was the best conference, but it's going to definitely show that Kentucky's starting to regain their form.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's not just Kentucky winning. You have Bama in the Sweet 16, Tennessee and Arkansas in the Sweet 16, and future SEC team Texas in the Sweet 16. So that's looking pretty good for them.
And I thought the Tennessee win over Duke was going to be the big one for the SEC, but then Arkansas beat Kansas. That was huge. That win was huge.
Oh, yeah. It was big. So, yeah.
Kansas State with yet another foul.
I'm still amazed about Princeton upsetting Missouri yesterday. But how about that new Big Ten game between Northwestern and UCLA? I can't believe that's going to be. I can't believe that's going to be a conference matchup a year or so from now.
Oh, it's not even going to make any sense seeing USC and UCLA in the Big Ten. It's going to be insane.
Well, there is one reason why it makes sense. Money.
Oh, yeah. That's not all these moves are being made. I mean, it is what it is. Kansas State's driving in. What a shot by Desi Sills.
Wow.
39-35. Will says, what an and one. That's a great play. That might be the shot Kansas State needed to get back in this one. He drives down the floor, takes the contact from Antonio Reeves, lays it off the glass, and he gets the free throw. That is amazing. It cuts Kansas State's lead or deficit down to 4. Kentucky's lead is only at 4 right now. Kentucky's looks like they've dominated the second half, but Kansas State's hanging in there. Will and D says UCLA basketball might dominate the Big Ten. That's a pretty good statement right there. I think it's possible. UCLA has a lot of basketball history, so it is possible that they could dominate the Big Ten. But Indiana seems to be getting back on track, so maybe they could. You never know. Still be the top team in the Big Ten.
Oh, for sure. And Michigan State's always going to be a challenge as well, as long as they got Tom Izzo.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Purdue, well, they're overrated in March anyway.
For sure. They've kind of showed that the last few seasons. Teddy Boy says, holy cow, what a shot that was, and the foul. But he's at the free throw line. Desi Sills averages 9 points per game. He's got 9 points in this game. with a chance to make this a one-possession game again. Kansas State only down 4, 15-12 to go in the second. He shoots the free throw, and he knocks it down. It's 39-36, Kentucky. 15-10 to go in the second. Kentucky only with a 3-point lead. Cason Wallace with the basketball. He got hit in the head. Knee to head contact from Oscar Tshiebwe, but he seems to be okay, thankfully for him. And he's back on the floor playing well. But Cason Wallace kicks to Chris Livingston for 3. Kentucky misses. Tshiebwe tried to get the rebound, but Kansas State has the basketball again. Marquise Noel bringing the ball up the floor. Kansas State only down 3.
Oh, man, we're now at a tied game. I can't believe it. Oh, man, this is a really big battle for the SEC.
Noel hits the 3. Tie game, to your point.
Oh, man.
39-39, 14-20 to go in the second.
I'm just like, oh, man. That is so big.
Cason Wallace trying to drive. He kicks to Jacob Toppin. Toppin's been really quiet in this game and has not had a good offensive game, and he's driving on Naquan Tomlin. He misses the shot, but Chris Livingston with the follow dunk. 41-39 Kentucky. Under 14 to go, but Kansas State run the floor, and Desi Sills gets fouled. Dave Valensky makes the point, money destroys everything. There's no reason why UCLA and USC should be in the Big Ten. Like there's no reason why West Virginia's in the Big 12. 100% agree. Unfortunately, money made all these conferences change, the teams and add teams, and you're losing teams, and it made the conferences unbalanced, and now we're at where we're at. It's unfortunate that the Big Ten and the SEC will be the most dominant by far because of that, but it is what it is. I like the conferences better in the 90s, but it's never going to go back. But Kansas State, they miss. So Kentucky with the basketball up 2, 41-39, 13-40 to go in the second. Cason Wallace being hounded by Marquise Noel.
And Kentucky's leading by a couple, by a basket, 41-39.
Tshiebwe down low. He gets it stripped, and Kansas State is the basketball. What a defensive play by Kansas State. In the corner, Ismail Massoud. He's driving in. Kicks to Naquan Tomlin. He scores the layup. It's a tie game, 41-41, 13-10 to go in the second. Clint Moses says San Diego State will be representing the Pac-12. That actually could be good, especially in basketball.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's going to be fantastic as well.
Mm-hmm. Cason Wallace, he drives all the way to the hoop. He was looking for a foul, but he gets the bucket. It's 43-41. Naquan Tomlin on the other end for Kansas State. He kicks it back out to Marquise Noel. But Kansas State only down 2, 12-40 to go in the second. He misses a 3, but he gets fouled on a 3. Jacob Toppin does not like it. Neither does Calipari.
Calipari's mad.
But Marquise Noel, he sold the contact. He's going to the line for 3 free throws. Will Indice says finally Kansas State makes a 3 for sure. But Toppin now has 3 fouls for Kentucky. That could be something to monitor, foul trouble. Marquise Noel, he has 7 points and 5 assists in this one. And he's going to the line for 3 free throws. And he makes the first, 43-42. Kentucky clinging to a 1-point lead right now, 12:42 to go in the second. But Marquise Noel can retake the lead for Kansas State if he hits all these free throws.
There we go. And another successful free throw for Kansas State, thus making it a 43-43 tie.
It is tied right now. Kansas State could hit this last one. They'll have a 1-point lead. But Kentucky, Kansas State going back and forth. The Wildcats are battling it out. Noel with the last free throw. Getting set, he shoots it up, and he misses it. So it's 43-43. Went in and out. Jeff says, what a flush on Livingston's done. That was a huge dunk. But this game has been a back-and-forth affair going back and forth all day long. It's been a great game. Kansas State's 8 of 12 at the line. Kentucky 5 of 8. But Kentucky trying to drive. Antonio Reeves spins around, kicks to Chris Livingston for 3. He fakes the 3. And it's off Kentucky. Turnover Kentucky. Kansas State basketball, 12-19 to go in the second. Cal is not happy again. with his team for being sloppy with the basketball.
Oh, yeah, he's mad.
14 turnovers for Kentucky in this game.
Ruggy, that's bad.
Thankfully, they're only in a tie game. They could be losing if Kansas State had hit more shots. But Marquise Noel trying to drive on Oscar Tshiebwe, kicks it back out. And he takes a three, and he misses. And Chris Livingston with the rebound. They call a foul on Kansas State on the rebound attempt. 6 fouls for Kansas State. And at the under 12 timeout, we have a 43-43 game. It's going back and forth. It probably is going to go down to the wire.
It looks like it is. I wonder if we're going to see this be the first game of this year's March Madness go to overtime.
It could, the way this is going. I mean, I think that there's been several games that almost have gone to overtime, but it is really tough for a game to go to overtime. You look at a lot of things have to go right for both teams. It has to go down the wire, and then you have to be tied right at the end. But I think with how quick a lot of these teams are scoring these days, it's really tough to have an overtime game. But this game could.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be big.
Mm-hmm. Will and Deasis Jackson, I don't want that, haha, because he's got to go to Mass.
Right. Yeah.
It's almost like when you got to go to church in the morning. Somebody's going to make a
game-winning basket, Will. I can promise you that.
You got to go to bed for church, and you don't want the game to still be on, even though you want overtime, but it's the conflict of interest.
Oh, yeah. So that'll be something.
Clint Moses roll tide.
Thanks, man.
Got the Alabama hat on.
Yep. In celebration of Bama heading over to Sweet 16.
They looked really good for sure last night. It was a great game against Maryland. Maryland could not get anything going on offense in the second half, and the Crimson Tide pulled away. But this game between Kentucky and Kansas State, so far there's been no separation whatsoever. Both teams are playing some high-level basketball. A lot of turnovers, a lot of sloppiness, but great physical action. Will and Deese says Antonio Reeves is shooting 0 of 10, no points. Ouch. It's insane. He had 37 points against Arkansas, I think. 0 points today so far.
Well, Oregon State to Clint Moses. I really hope to see Oregon State have another 2021 type year from that school. That would be pretty big in college basketball. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking forward to see what their football team brings in 2023.
Yeah, unfortunately for Oregon State, I mean, Jared Lucas was a really good guard, but they lost him to Nevada. Wayne Tinkle's son, Tress Tinkle, he was a really good player. Been a couple of years back, but he's gone. I just think overall, Oregon State has nothing going for them right in basketball at this point in time. They don't have a lot of great players. They're going to have to get some players in somehow through the transfer portal to hopefully be able to turn that roster around and get them back to at least an NIT level, because they're nowhere near even that. They're just really struggling right now. But hopefully for Clint, Oregon State can get back on track. Dave Valensky says Villanova went into 3 overtimes against Old Dominion, and Old Dominion pulled off the upset back in 95. Will and D says Jeff Cable's dad coached ODU back then. That's crazy. Jeff Cable's done a good job at Pitt. They did lose today against Xavier, but still done a solid job. But we have a 43-43 game, 11:40 to go in the second half. Kassan Wallace with the basketball. Kentucky shooting only 39% from the field, and they call another foul on Kansas State. Now Kansas State's in the bonus, so Tshiebwe will be at the free throw line.
I'm happy for Jeff Cable in the season that he's had this year at Pitt, because he was on that hot seat for having all those losing seasons, and I think he saved his job for another year with keeping Pittsburgh in the thick of the regular season race for the ACC. And, going to the round of 32 can help a little bit too.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I do think he has saved his job for sure, and that's awesome. I did not want to see him get fired.
Yeah.
It looks like he might be okay. But Oscar Tshiebwe, he missed the front end of the 1-and-1 Again, missed free throws are key in March Madness. You got to make your free throws. But Kansas State with the chance to take the lead. Marquise Noel, he misses a floater. Kassan Wallace with the rebound. He's going down the floor. Kicks in the corner, Antonio Reeves. And Reeves, he misses a three, still struggling. Chris Livingston loses the basketball out of bounds. So it's Kansas State basketball yet again, 11:09 to go in the second. Both teams are battling it out on the glass. A lot of contact, but no foul call. But Kansas State with the ball yet again, still in a tie game, 11 to go in the second.
Kansas State just got a 2-point lead.
And Marquise Noel's driving in. He kicks to Keontae Johnson. And to your point, Kansas State now up by 2, 45-43. 10:40 to go in the second. Kentucky now down by 2 again. Teddy Boy says Reeves can't hit the side of a bar net. He's really struggling. At 37 points for Kentucky against Arkansas on the road on their senior night, but has 0 points tonight. Really strong. Reeves for 3. Misses yet again. Kansas State with another rebound. If Reeves can't get going, it's going to be tough sledding for Kentucky the rest of this game.
Oh, man, now it's a 4-point lead by K-State.
Marquise Noel with another layup, 47-43, Kansas State, 10:15 to go in the second.
Oh, man, are you serious? Oh, man, 4-point lead. Oh, man.
And John Calipari uses a timeout. He does not like what he's seeing. And to your point, if Dickie V was commentating this one, that's exactly what he would be saying right now.
Oh, man, Calipari's not too happy. I mean, he is cussing them out right now.
I mean, they're going to have to find their way. I mean, they're really struggling on the offensive end. Reeves can't make a shot. Kansas State's starting to get some confidence and make some layups.
For sure. None too thrilled. He is not too happy. He's going to get them all fired up during this commercial break.
So do you think that Kentucky's going to find a way to settle it down and take back the lead and get the win, or are you feeling a Kansas State win today? What's your gut feeling right now?
It really could be an either or, but I'm thinking Kentucky comes back, honestly. Well, plus, I got Kentucky going to the Sweet 16, so I got to bet the right horse.
Yeah, you can't change your mind. I mean, inside the pylons, he was struggling last night because he kept going back and forth. He was like, oh, I got this team going all the way to the championship. Oh, I got this team going all the way to the championship game. I mean, you can see like 10 different teams, but, I mean, you got to stick with your pick, your original pick.
Yeah. Well, pretty soon I'm going to do
ball.
Pretty soon I'm going to try to win something from the second chance brackets. Oh, man, a 3-pointer from Kentucky. Oh, unbelievable.
But Kentucky down 4. Jackson said they just hit a 3 into the corner for Livingston. He probably knocks it down. He does. 47-46. Kentucky's cut it to 1. 9:50 to go in the second. That's a big shot for Kentucky.
Kentucky got a 2-pointer.
If Reeves
Kansas State got a 2-pointer. My mistake.
If Reeves isn't making them, then Livingston has to hit him for 3.
I'm so excited. I'm getting stuff mixed up in my head.
And there's that layup for Kansas State, like you said, 49-46. You're good, man. I get mixed up all the time. 9:20 to go in the second. It's March Madness. It's madness everywhere. Marquise Noel's getting close to a double-double. He's got 11 points and 7 assists for Kansas State.
Oh, man.
Sheboy down low. They call a foul on Kansas State, so Sheboy's going to have a couple free throws if he can hit the front end of the 1-and-1. What a pass from Marquise Noel. He's having a really solid floor game. Clint Moses says coaches should all go back to wearing suits. I agree. They look so much more professional when they do. And now only some of them wear them. Most don't.
Honestly, it really doesn't make a difference to me. Like, if you want to wear regular clothes, that's cool. If you want to wear, like, fedoras or if you want to wear suits, that's cool. Oh, my favorite one was I forget his name, but he's from St. John's in the 80s. He's a real old dude.
Is it that guy named Lou Carson-Nesca or something like that?
That's the guy, Lou Carson. He always wore that little sweater. But then when Georgetown was playing St. John's, he was just real quiet about what he was wearing, but then guess what? He's out showing the sweater for everybody to see, just to kind of
That's
get
awesome.
in Lou's head a little bit, man. Oh man.
Tshiebwe, he hits both free throws. So it's 49-48. Kansas State only with a 1-point lead. 8:50 to go in the second. Marquise Noel trying to drive. Kicks to Keontae Johnson. He's driving in. And Keontae Johnson misses a layup. Kentucky with the rebound. CJ Frederick. Kentucky with a chance to retake the lead. Jacob Toppin fakes a three. Kicks to Kassan Wallace. John Calipari's on the floor screaming.
Oh, man, he is mad. He is mad, everybody.
Wallace kicks to Frederick, back to Toppin. 5 seconds on the shot clock.
Kentucky's got the lead again.
Kentucky misses, but Tshiebwe with the rebound with another chance. Down to Wallace, and Wallace hits the floater. 50-49 Kentucky. Kansas State is losing again, 8 to go.
Mm-hmm.
This game is going down to the wire.
And now it's Kansas State with a 1-point lead. I mean, it's just flip-flopping.
Neither team can gain separation at all. 7:50 to go in the second. And Kansas State, Marquise Noel drives in, and Kansas State now back up by 1. 51-50. 7:40 to go in the second. Marquise Noel's having a fantastic second half for Kansas State. He's passing well. He's shooting well. What a battle, says Teddy Boy. 100% agree. It's been a fantastic game. Thanks to everyone for being here as well. Like the stream down below. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. But thanks to everyone for being here. CJ Frederick, he just misses a three. I think they call a foul on Kansas State.
And Kentucky's got a chance to retake the lead. Oh, I most certainly agree. It is a fantastic battle. This is going to be a fantastic finish.
Yeah, Tshiebwe and the Kansas State player were battling out on the glass. I think they did call a foul on Kansas State because it rolled over Tshiebwe's leg. But Kansas State, only with a 1-point lead right now, and Kentucky can retake the lead at the foul line after the timeout.
Right now, so far, it looks like we're going to have one Big 12 team in the Sweet 16. And TCU's still playing tonight on TBS, and Baylor's playing Creighton on TBS. Kansas State wins. That's a big win for the Big 12. Kentucky wins, and this is a big win for the SEC. So no room for error tonight or today.
I think if you look at this game right here, it would be a big win for either team and for either conference. It would, go to show that both these conferences are playing at a high level. Just looking at this game in general, Kentucky's playing a really great game. Kansas State's playing a great game. It's been going back and forth. You can't ask for much more.
Oh man, it's a nail biter. I mean, this game is basically showcasing why the Big 12 and the SEC are two of the best in college basketball this year.
Mm-hmm. For sure. In the Big Ten, they had a good season, but yet again, the tournament, Indiana, Michigan State, the only teams left. And then the other conferences are having a lot more success, like the SEC, already having some teams in the Sweet 16. The Big 12 is playing great basketball as well. Just going to show that the Big Ten is a little bit behind those other two conferences right now in basketball. The ACC had a massively down year. The Pac-12 struggling outside of UCLA. The Big East is having some success. But it's definitely showing that the SEC and the Big 12 are having the most success so far.
Yeah, the ACC, I got some questions about their future. I mean, yes, Duke won the conference tournament this year, fell short in round of 32, but Jon Scheyer and Duke are a big question for the future. Because, I mean, take out the Coach K recruits. What can he do? That will be the question. Same thing with Hubert Davis. Take out the Roy Williams recruits. What can he do without the Roy Williams players?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting for sure. And you can definitely tell North Carolina is trending in the wrong direction. Duke made the tournament, but not looking like the Coach K teams for sure. So it will be interesting. And the ACC as a whole was just really down this year. Will and D says the top of the Big East is just as good as the SEC and the Big 12. The depth isn't as good, though, for sure. The conference as a whole is not as good, but the top teams are great. Easy Money, thanks for coming back. He says, hey, Jeff and everyone, I'm back. I had to repair something. Thanks for being back, though. We got a high-level game. It's 51-50, Kansas State over Kentucky. 1-point game, and Oscar Tshiebwe is going to have some free throws. He has 17 points and 16 rebounds. Tshiebwe is dominating the boards yet again.
Now we're tied 51 apiece.
So Oscar Tshiebwe with a 1-1.
Oh, man, now Kentucky's got the lead.
He's really improved his free throw shot this year, and he makes the free throw.
Make those free throws. That's the key to winning this game. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure. You got to make your free throws. I think overall, you look at a lot of teams that have lost. Auburn got beat by Houston because they couldn't make free throws. But Oscar Tshiebwe with the second free throw. And to Jackson's point, Kentucky has retaken the lead. It's 52-51, 7:20 to go in the second. Kansas State and Kentucky are battling it out. The game's been going back and forth. A lot of lead changes in this second half. But Oscar Tshiebwe now with 19 points and 16 rebounds, and they call a foul on Kentucky with no free throws because the Wildcats of Kentucky not in the bonus yet. Easy Money says, I've got what you call hillbilly ingenuity. I can fix stuff with rolled duct tape, roll laughing out loud. A lot of people can do that. Sometimes you might not be able to fix it the right way, but as long as you can fix it, it's all that matters. But Jacob Toppin with 4 fouls for Kentucky. That's a tough loss as he goes to the bench. He only has 2 points and 4 rebounds. Teddy Boy says both the Big 12 and the SEC at 8 teams make the tournament right. You are absolutely correct in that assessment, both at 8. Actually, the Big 12 at 7. Sorry, they had 7. The Big 10 at 8. The Big 12 at 7 because Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma missed. So the SEC at 8, the Big 12 at 7, and the Big 10 at 8. So you're close.
It should have been 9 teams from the SEC because Vanderbilt really got screwed over by the committee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Big 10, you could have argued Rutgers to make it, and then you look at the Big 12. I still think you have potentially Oklahoma State should have made it, but it is what it is. Reeves for 3 for Kentucky. He misses the 3. Tshiebwe with the monster slam. 54-51 Kentucky.
Wow.
6:20 to go in the second, and Big Blue Nation is rising to their feet.
And now K-State has an awesome 3-pointer. Oh, man, are you serious? It's a 54 tie. Oh, man.
Keontae Johnson, he swings to Marquise Noel. And Marquise Noel shoots a 35-foot 3, and he knocks it down. It's 54-54. 6 to go in the second. This game is going back and forth. What a game. It's been a fantastic game. Dave Valensky says, do you think that Gonzaga and St. Mary lead the West Coast Conference, join the Pac-12? They could. I know there's a lot of people talking about the athletic differences and the fact they're smaller schools, not as big as stadiums. You have to have all that stuff in order, but it's possible. Some people say Gonzaga could go to the Big 12 as well, but I do think overall, but going to the Pac-12 makes sense, especially location-wise. But Oscar Tshiebwe is fouled. He's going to the free throw line yet again. He's starting to dominate the boards. Easy Money says the Big 10 and the SEC at 8. Again, the Big 12 at 7. So those 3 definitely had the most teams in the tournament in the Big 10, SEC, and the Big 12. But this is a high-level basketball game going back and forth. But Naquan Tomlin, he fouled him on the arm. Val's the GOATs here. Thanks for being here, Val's. He says, I hope Kansas State wins. A lot of people wanting Kansas State to win. They're a great story this year. Jerome Tang's done a fantastic job.
I see a Patrick Mahomes logo, but I don't know who Val's the GOAT is pulling for. Must be a Tennessee fan.
Oscar Tshiebwe, he hits the first, so it's 55-54 Kentucky. 5:45 to go in the second. And Tshiebwe with the second free throw. He knocks it down, so it's 56-54. Kentucky with a 2-point lead. 5:40 to go in the second. This game's going back and forth, possession by possession. Marquise Noel kicks it down low to Keontae Johnson. Tie game, 56-all. 5:30 to go in the second.
Then we got Kentucky just getting ahead with a 2-point lead again, 58-56.
Kassan Wallace with an easy layup to Jackson's point, 58-56 Kentucky. 5:10 to go in the second. Both teams are scoring every single possession right now. Kassan Wallace has 19 points. He's having a solid game.
Oh, man, 4 minutes, 56 seconds left in the game.
Marquise Noel, he shoots a three. He misses, and the ball is over the backboard. Kentucky ball. Easy Money says, yeah, Vandy should have been in probably. Did they beat Michigan in the NIT? They did by 1. It was 66-65, but Vanderbilt, a really solid team, and they're advancing in the tournament. Battles the Ghost, is Scotty Barnes or Evan Mobley? That's a good question. Probably Scotty Barnes. He's playing really well. Evan Mobley's had a lot of success too, but I would say Scotty Barnes. Clint Moses says Pac-12 should also grab Pepperdine with Gonzaga and St. Mary's as well. You never know. Pepperdine's not as good in basketball, but they have great academics. Antonio Reeves is driving in, kicks to Lance Ware, and Lance Ware with the dunk, but they do call a travel before the dunk. Kansas State basketball, 4:39 to go in the second.
Wow.
Easy Money said this game has shades of the Arkansas versus Kansas. Exciting. Let's go. This has been a fantastic game. This game and Arkansas, Kansas might be the 2 best tournament games so far. Teddy Boy said this one might be the best game of the tournament so far. I agree. You can definitely say this game, potentially Arkansas, Kansas, been some solid games for sure. But Kansas State with the ball, a chance to retake the lead. Keontae Johnson, he's driving in, kicks to Marquise Noel. He almost loses the basketball, but 4:20 to go. He kicks to Keontae Johnson. And Johnson, he misses the layup. Oscar Sheway with the rebound. He almost had the reverse, but he missed it.
Oh, man, Kentucky's got a 4-point lead.
Lance Ware kicks it to Chris Livingston. Back to Lance Ware. Lance Ware with an easy dunk. Kansas State, 2 of their players collided and left a wide open lane for Lance Ware. Now Kansas State's down 4. Could be danger time for Kansas State. 3:40 to go in the second. They need a bucket.
Kansas State makes a 3-pointer. Bam! It's 60-59 by Kentucky.
But Marquise Noel, he's looking for the 3. He takes the step back over Kassan Wallace, and he knocks it down. 60-59. Kansas State, what a big shot. 3:29 to go in the second half. This game has been fantastic. Marquise Noel trying to keep Kansas State in this one. Kassan Wallace is driving. He loses the basketball, and they call it off of Kentucky. 3:20 to go in Kansas State basketball. Marquise Noel with 19 points and 7 assists, leading his Kansas State team. Dave Valensky says the only thing good about Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC is Texas gets to renew the rivalry with Texas A&M. That game should be always scheduled on Thanksgiving. Yeah, that's good, but unfortunately, you're just losing out on so much more with them joining. Still kind of wish Texas A&M was still in the Big 12.
Well,
Chestnuts, go Big Blue.
Yeah, well, let's see. Well, Kentucky still got that 1-point lead. Better keep that lead, Kentucky.
Teddy Boy says Kansas State should leave Reeves open. Ha ha. I mean, the way he's playing in this game with 0 points, really struggling from the field, might not be a bad strategy. Let him shoot, Teddy Boy says. Easy Money says, I agree this game is the best so far, along with the Arkansas-Kansas game. And the Mississippi State-Pitt game was good, too. Awesome games all around. You definitely like the back-and-forth games that go down to the last shot. Those are the best. Easy Money says Nebraska belongs in the Big 12 for sure. There's no doubt about it. They were a much better team when they were in the Big 12. They had that Texas recruiting pipeline. And I know some people say it doesn't matter, but it does. Nebraska should be in the Big 12. They fit so much better in that conference. We have a high-level basketball game here. This game's been going back and forth. What a game all around. Kansas State down by 1 point. 60-59 Kentucky. 3:20 to go in the second. And the way this game's going, it could be the team that has the ball last that wins.
Oh, this is basically a seesaw battle. What's your takeaway from it so far?
I mean, my takeaways overall, I just think it's showing that both these teams are great. I think it's showing that Kentucky is a good basketball team. A lot of people were questioning the Wildcats this year. Was Kentucky a good team? They lost to South Carolina. They had some struggles. But Kentucky is a good team. And I think that you look at Kansas State, again, also showing they belong, that their season was not a fluke. And I think it's just been a great game overall that definitely whoever wins will end up being one of the best games of the tournament. Easy Money says it looks like it matters. I bet OU won't dominate the SEC. I completely agree. I don't think Oklahoma's going to dominate the SEC at all. There's too many good teams. Oklahoma it's one of those stories with them where they're going to have to go in there and be able to recruit at an even higher level. And they're going to have to find a way, instead of only playing 2 or 3 high-level games in the Big 12 every year, they're going to have to go to the SEC, where they're going to have to play Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Auburn, Ole Miss, Florida, Texas A&M, game in and game out. Can they do that? Arkansas, I don't know if they can. If Oklahoma can't do that, then they're going to have a lot of struggles in the SEC, and they're going to wish they stay in the Big 12, even though they're going to be making more money in the SEC, which is why they're leaving. It has nothing to do with the on the field. It's the off the field. They want to make more money as a university, which is great, but you're not going to dominate. If Gonzaga leaves for the Pac-12 or the Big 12, Gonzaga's not going to have the success they do in the West Coast Conference. Houston's not going to dominate the American Conference anymore because they're going to be in the Big 12. Houston's not going to have that success in the Big 12 in basketball as much. They might succeed, but they're not going to dominate. So it will be interesting. But Kansas State with the basketball, Desi Sills has had a solid game, especially in the first half. But Marquise Noel's at a great second half for Kansas State. He has the basketball. Kansas State down 1, 3 to go. And they call a foul on Kentucky. Easy Money says, oh, you dominated the Big 12 at the SEC. Not so fast, my friend. The great words of Lee Corso.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping Lee Corso will be okay.
Yeah.
But a 60-59 lead for Kentucky, 2:59 to go in the second. And Kansas State's going to have to inbound. Unless they called it on a shot, Marquise Noel might be at the free throw line. What is he shooting?
Kansas State just tied the game, and now they just took the lead with those.
Oh, they called that off a shot. I am not 100% sure that was a shot. I think he just lost the ball when he got fouled, but they called it on a shot, and Kansas State ties the game 60-60, 2:59 to go in the second. He was not shooting that. He was passing. That's a bad call. But Marquise Noel hits both free throws, and Kansas State's back in the lead, 61-60, 2:50 to go in the second. What a back-and-forth game.
Well, Kentucky's now on the lead again, 62-61, and is Will going to be able to make it the match? I hope he can.
He's probably already had to drop off and go. This game's taking too long for him. I don't see him in the chat anymore, but thanks for being here, Will, when you could. 62-61 Kentucky.
Now it's a 64-62 lead with a three-pointer from K-State. Easy
Money said, yes, sir, I learned that from Corso. But Kansas State in the corner, Ismail Massoud, he hits a big three, 64-62, 2:10 to go in the second half, and Kansas State clinging to a 2-point lead. Now, this game's been awesome, as Teddy Boy says, 100% agree. This has been what March Madness is all about, a back-and-forth game, two teams giving everything they've got, and you've got Chris Livingston in the corner, and his three rims in and out, as Easy Money says. And Kansas State has the basketball. Marquise Noel bringing the ball down the floor. Marquise Noel's 3 of 7 from 3. The rest of his team is 1 of 12, and Ismail Massoud is the first Kansas State player to hit a 3.
Wow, K-State's now got a 5-point lead with 1:24 left in the game.
Marquise Noel misses a 3, but they get the ball back. Kansas State up 2, 1:30 to go in the second. And Jackson says they're now up by 5, so they probably hit another 3. Keontae Johnson with the ball. He steps back on Jacob Toppin, and he knocks it down. Kansas State with a 5-point lead. Easy Money says Kentucky's messing up, but still Kansas State's hitting tough shots. That was a big step back from Keontae Johnson. Teddy Boy says let Reeves shoot Kansas State. Reeves cannot shoot in this game. Reeves shoots a 3, and he misses another 3. Livingston misses the putback, and Kansas State with the rebound. Kansas State's up 5, 56 seconds to go. Is Kentucky going to foul?
They're going to have to.
And Kansas State kicks it out yet again. 45 seconds to go. And Kentucky finally fouls. That's the 6th foul on Kentucky, so no free throws. Kansas State definitely can win this game. This would be huge. Teddy Boy says Reeves 0 for 15. He probably is. He's had a bad game, and that's a big reason Kentucky's losing. He had 37 against Arkansas, but he is a streaky shooter. But Keontae Johnson with the big 3 over Jacob Toppin. That could be enough for Kansas State to get the win. It's 67. It's 62 Kentucky. Kansas State up 5, 44 seconds to go.
He is. You're right. Reeves is over 15.
Insane. And Kansas State takes a timeout to talk things over, but Kansas State might be going on to the Sweet 16. Kentucky's really struggling. Easy money says Kentucky's probably going to have to foul. If you were going to play straight-up defense, they shouldn't have fouled there. They should have played straight-up defense before the shot clock resets to 20. But now that they fouled, they're probably going to have to foul and hope Kansas State misses free throws.
Oh man, Kentucky's field goal percentage has been a disaster. It's 39.3%. That is bad.
It's not good enough to win a big tournament game like this. And Kansas State has been shooting much better in the second half. Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson have been big in the second half, making tough shots. Teddy Boy said, I'm tied with Reeves scoring in this game, and I didn't even play. For sure. I haven't played either. Me, you, Jackson, we're all tied with Antonio Reeves in this game. Reeves is just really struggling. But Kansas State inbounds the basketball, almost a turnover. But Keontae Johnson is trapped in the corner, and Kansas State has to use their final timeout. It looked like Kentucky was about to foul, but Kansas State calls a timeout just to be safe. It's still 67-62, 39 seconds left in the game. But Kansas State's going to have to inbound the ball and get it out of the coffin corner. You definitely don't want to get caught in the corner.
Oh, yeah. Kentucky's going to have to make a 2016 Texas A&M miracle in this case. I mean, I know it's tough, but it can be done.
Oh, it's not over yet. There's still enough time for Kentucky to make a comeback, but it is definitely looking slim at this point. Down 5, 39 seconds to go, and if Kansas State can get the ball in bounds and get fouled, and if they make the free throws, it might be too much to overcome.
Maybe Kansas State will pull a Virginia. Virginia did against Furman.
You don't want to do that. But no. Furman was the purple team. Kansas State's the purple team in this case. Maybe the purple magic will get Kansas State over the top, but you never know. I mean, Kentucky, they've pulled a lot of comebacks on teams. It's not over till it's over for sure. Kentucky still can come back. Easy Money says Kentucky needs a steal here.
Oh, they're going to need something.
But Kansas State, they just have to inbound the ball and get fouled and make the free throws. But Kentucky, they need a steal or they need to foul Kansas State and hope they miss the 1-and-1 and then get a quick bucket. Kansas State to inbound. There's 39 seconds to go. Keontae Johnson is the inbounder. Refs are talking about something before they give the ball to Johnson. Now they're over at the monitor a little bit, trying to add to the drama. Don't you love when refs added the drama by going over the monitor and everyone's wondering what they're doing? Oh, man. Man, this would be a huge win for Kansas State. They do inbound the basketball. Marquise Noel, he goes up for the layup, and he scores and one.
Ooh.
What a shot. Teddy Boy says, I can't believe Reeves scored 37 on Arkansas. Me neither. Kentucky won that game 88-79, and he had 37. The biggest reason why they did win. And they did call the foul on the floor. They did not give him the and one. Easy Money said, I don't think that was a foul, but even if it wasn't a foul, he scored the point. So it doesn't really matter. That actually helped. Well, Kentucky, they didn't call it on a shooting foul. And I think it actually was a shooting foul because he was in the air after he got fouled. He never landed, but they did call it on the floor. Marquise Noel with the free throw, and he knocks it down. So it doesn't really matter for Kansas State. Marquise Noel is a great free throw shooter, but to me, that was an and one.
Oh, yeah. Now Kentucky's
on the arm.
Now Kentucky, and it's Kansas State 69-64.
69-62. Kansas State up 7. Kentucky's going to have to score quick. Wallace dribbling at the top of the keys, driving in. Kicks to Sheboy, and Sheboy with the slam, but it's 69-64, only 26 seconds left. And John Calipari uses his second-to-last timeout to try to get his team maybe to get a steal. But overall, it's running out of time. Teddy Boy says should have been an and-one. I completely agree. It was an and-one. I mean, Easy Money says I don't think it was a foul, but he did get fouled on the arm. He went into the air, never landed, and laid it in. That's an and-one. That's definitely an and-one. So Kansas State definitely missed out on that extra point there. But Toppin's fouled out. And now Kansas State with a 5-point lead having to inbound the ball again. And as long as they don't turn it over, they're going to be going to the Sweet 16. Kentucky, they had a solid game. Oscar Tshiebwe is 25 points, but Antonio Reeves being 0 of 15 from the field is a big reason they're not going to win if they don't win. He had a bad game. Sometimes just one bad game for one player on your team is enough for you to lose. Easy Money is looking grim for Kentucky. It definitely is, but Kansas State to inbound. And they've got the 5 guys on the out-of-bounds line to run it in, almost like a football play.
Well, it'll be Kansas State's 18th trip to the Sweet 16.
Kansas State does inbound basketball. Marquise out, and he'll be going to the line. Austin Williams says, I'm so happy right now. I can just dance the night away. Well, we know Austin, Louisville fan, Kentucky probably going down, but Jeff and Easy Money not happy for sure. It's a really unfortunate for the Kentucky fans. Kentucky played a solid game, but it does look like they're going to fall short.
Yep, and it's going to be Kansas State's 18th trip to the Sweet 16 in school history.
You've been to the Sweet 16 a decent amount.
Mm-hmm.
Teddy Boy says Van Halen dance the night away. For sure.
Oh, yeah. Now K-State's up 70-64.
Kassan Wallace fouls out as well for Kentucky. Easy Money says, yeah, oops, another SEC bites the dust looking like. And Marquise Noel, he's making free throws. He's making shots. He's making all the right decisions for Kansas State. And he's the reason they're going to be moving on if they win this game. He's had a fantastic game for Kansas State.
Oh, man.
Kentucky played a solid game, but they just could not make enough shots. And he hits the second, 71-64 Kansas State. Kentucky just did not make threes in the second half. Outside of Chris Livingston, Jacob Toppin had a bad game. So did Antonio Reeves. Both of them really struggled.
It's 71-64 lead for K-State. 15 seconds left in the game. Well, it's looking like it's 71-65 now.
They called a blocking foul. I think he was inside the arc. Antonio Reeves driving in. Dave Valensky says, where's the SEC's chances now? I think that you look at Alabama, Arkansas is still alive, Tennessee. Michael Williams says, what are the games you're doing tonight? I don't know. I might be able to do TCU Gonzaga tonight. I'm not 100% sure. We'll see. Depends on my schedule, but I might be able to do that game. It just depends. Not 100% given. But thanks, everyone, for being here for this stream. Thank you, Jackson, for coming on. Thank you, Will, as well.
Thank you for having
Dave
me
Valensky.
on.
You're welcome,
Thank you
Jackson.
for having me on tonight.
100%. Thank you guys so much for being here. Like the stream down below. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. But you guys have been awesome today. A big game. Antonio Reeves finally scores his first point. 15 seconds to go in the second. And Reeves, he hits the second. So it's still a 5-point game, 71-66. Still some game pressure on Kansas State.
No pressure, Kentucky.
Inbounds the ball to Desi Sills. Teddy Boy says Kansas State made some really tough shots in this game. You got to make tough shots if you want to win. Marquise Noel hit some big ones. Teddy Boy says Kentucky played well on defense, but they're often struggle with Reeves. For sure. Dave Valensky says, hopefully I'll see you tonight. If not, see you on Thursday. I hopefully will be able to do the game tonight. I'll definitely have to see. But thank you so much, Dave. I'll definitely be back for the big games coming up next week, but maybe tonight. It's been awesome doing these games, the round of 64, the round of 32, and I can't wait for the Sweet 16. With Desi Sills, he hits the first, and he hits the second. Kansas State up 7, 13 seconds left. Easy Money says, great show, Jeffrey. You're welcome. Take care, everyone. Roll Tide Roll. Thanks for being here, Easy Money. You were awesome. Glad you were able to come back. And Teddy Boy says, Reeves is 2 more points than me. Finally scored.
73-69. 6 seconds left in the game.
But Kentucky, Reeves shoots a 3. Finally, Reeves is getting going, but it's a little too late, it seems. and Kentucky takes their last timeout. If Antonio Reeves had hit some
Maybe
shots
the
earlier in the
fairy
game, they could've won.
godmother will bring that Cinderella magic for Tennessee. So there's that.
You never know. I think it's possible.
I mean, the fairy godmother brought out that Cinderella magic for Furman and Princeton. Oh wait, I forget. Kentucky's a blue blood. I don't think the fairy godmother cares for blue bloods too much.
Well, it's interesting with blue bloods. Is Indiana still a blue blood or not? If Indiana's a blue blood, there's no fairy wand magic tonight against Miami. But if they're not a blue blood anymore, then maybe they could use some of it.
There you go. Bippity, boppity, boo.
Michael Williams said we could have had Tennessee versus Memphis in the Sweet 16. Memphis had to lose. Yeah, that would have been pretty cool. But Florida Atlantic won by 1 point.
Well, maybe we'll see some history happen tonight. A 16 seed making it to the Sweet 16 for the first time ever. I mean, think about it. A 16 seed and the Sweet 16. So cool.
It just makes too much sense, too. It sounds right. Dave Valensky says, oh, man. Oh, only that being loves blue bloods. Oh, man. Well, I mean, unless you're a fan of the team. I mean, I know a lot of people like the blue bloods because they're good teams, but they are a little too, I guess you would say big for their britches sometimes. But, I mean, hey, they're really good teams. I like all of them just as much as the other teams. Try to, be an unbiased sports fan for sure. And from North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
There's 4 seconds left. And Marquise Noel's going to the line. Easy Money is laughing on 16-16. That would be cool. There's 3.9 seconds left in this game, and Marquise Noel is going to the foul line.
Oh, it's over, man. K-State winning. 75-69.
Teddy Boy says, sounds like Dave had his team lose the Blue Bloods in the past. It seems like it. Marquise Noel at the line. He's been shooting great at the line today, and he just keeps knocking them down. If he missed a few, Kentucky would have had a chance. If Antonio Reeves had hit some shots, they could have won. Same with Jacob Todd for Kentucky, but they just could not hit some shots. And Easy Money says that's all she wrote, 75-69.
Oh, yeah. It's unbelievable. A 75-69 victory for the Kansas State Wildcats. I mean, no Final Four for Kentucky. That Final Four drought's going to continue.
It's unfortunate for the Kentucky Wildcats and all the fans. It's really unfortunate. They played a solid game, but they just could not get any scoring out of Jacob Toppin or Antonio Reeves. Both players really struggled from the field, but the rest of the players had some good games, but just wasn't enough. But Kansas State played a great game on offense in the second. Marquise Noel had a great game. Keontae Johnson as well. But Kansas State with the 75-69 win over Kentucky. Kansas State Wildcats are moving on to the Sweet 16 for their 18th Sweet 16 appearance, as Jackson said. Kentucky, unfortunately for them, their Final Four drought continues. They're losing early in the tournament yet again. But what's your final thoughts, Jackson?
Oh, man. I'm not too happy that Kentucky lost because it affects my bracket. But, great game from Kansas State and great job by Jerome Tang. Like, what a great finish. I mean, they're going to be sitting and waiting to see who they play, Michigan State or Marquette. That's going to be really fun. Are they going to go against Shakalaka Smart or Coach Izzo and that Michigan State squad? That'll be fun to watch on CBS.
I'm looking forward to it. It should be awesome. And thanks, everyone, for being here. Thanks for being here as well, Jackson.
Thank
the
you for
stream down
having me
below.
on.
You're welcome, man. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Share the stream on social media. But thanks to everyone for being here. What a game. What a big coaching job by Jerome Tang this year. He's done a fantastic job with the Wildcats, getting Kansas State to the Sweet 16. Done a great job. Keontae Johnson, a great story. It's been awesome. Teddy Boy says, I want to see Tom Izzo break another clipboard. Jeff says, great show, great game. I enjoyed it. Stinks Kentucky lost, but Kansas State with the big win. But thanks for being here, everybody. I might be back tonight. I'm not 100% sure, but thanks for being here, guys. Anyway, March Madness has been awesome. I'll see you next time. Thanks for being here, everybody.